Look who's back. Back again. And for those of you who've noticed, I've become a dirty hippie. Um, my wife made an appointment for me. So I will be seeing her stylist, and probably going to just get it mostly shaved off, honestly. But, look who's back, look who's back, look who's back. Da, 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 da. I've created a monster. Nobody wants to see James anymore. Trying to move something closer to me to look at it. Okay. I didn't know I had more Lehman Russ tanks. Ugh. Almost getting tired of putting these together, It's like, really? But, well, let's go deal with chat, too, because that's the whole thing. RPG Dad, what is up? Yeah, we got back late last night, so stuck asleep. Woke up first thing this morning, watched Conan the Barbarian, the movie. And then decided I was going to work on some of my stuff. I kind of keep a little mental, like, where am I at any given time, as far as getting my armies completed and everything. And I'm pretty far behind, I have to admit, pretty far behind. So right now I'm building a knight army. Pew, pew, pew. That's right. I was up in Gainesville, but you guys don't got to worry about me. I have my piece on. So, I was living that like Beastie Boys life, Here's a little story I got to tell about three bad brothers you know so well. Started way back in history with that. See, and me, Mike D. Anyway, see, I'm running viewers off by singing Beastie Boys. My homie, Cold Iron Oven, made some absolutely hilarious memes, so that's cool. They're on my Discord. I think they're on other people's Discord. There's ups, there's downs, there's betrayals and forgiveness. Really, that guy's memes got it all. Except it's just me, Shadow, and Bear, and sometimes Double D doing things. Well, actually, and sometimes Condor DM's in the memes, but he's usually involved in like some same-sex relations with some other guy in the background. So, yeah. I have my Fruit Splash Cherry Ginger Ale. 0 sugar, obviously, because sugar is the devil. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I bet. It sounds like a long drive, but then again, having to stop all the times and walk the dogs, and also Key West. If you went any further south than the Keys, you would be in Miami. Now, granted, 54 miles south, but still, you get what I'm saying. That's a ways. That's a good haul. When my wife and I went to Indiana, it took us like, I don't know, 30 something hours. We went to Bloomington to see my niece get her master's degree. They call it a caping or a cloaking or whatever. See, obviously, you guys are saying, oh, that guy don't know much about college because, and that would be true. But the thing is, And I think my wife does this because of my health issues. Like we don't drive hardcore like straight through, you know what I mean? We drive about however long that she feels like she wants to drive. And then we always stop at a hotel overnight so that we can get up first thing in the morning and eat breakfast. And, because we stay at a Hampton, so they always got the breakfast stuff. And then that way we can get up first thing the next morning and be all like ready to go. And so it basically takes us 2 days to go anywhere. That we go. I should say that we go. I don't want to mislead you guys here. So when we drive to Kentucky, it takes 2 days. When we drive to Indiana, it takes 2 days. When we drive to Gainesville, it only takes one day because it's like only 3 hours away or whatever. But if we drive anywhere that's going to be more than like 8 or 10 hours, it's going to take 2 days. So, man, I'm so glad to be home too. I mean, while I do not regret the fact that I was up there doing the thing, being a good family member and wishing, the old lady, you know, uh, safe journeys. I was ready to be home about 2 days ago. Well, Phileas Canis, are you British? Because yeah, the distance between Florida and like Atlanta is the distance between your southern coast and Scotland. And when I say Scotland, I mean like Edinburgh. Like one of the biggest countries in Europe, Germany, is the size of like one of our states and smaller than another one. So see, yeah, that's it. Hey, there's my brother. I haven't seen you in a while. Um, we would do the team driver thing, but oh, you're Australian. Well, never mind, dude. I used to hang out with this Australian girl a lot online because we played Dark Age of Camelot together, and she was a really cool chick. But I remember one time she decided to move from like the east coast of Australia, like near Sydney, all the way to the west coast, like Queensland or whatever it was. And she talked about driving, across like around the bight and all this stuff. And I was just like, I don't know, man. I don't know Australia. I know stories people tell about Australia, and I'm sitting here thinking, I don't think I would want to make that ride because supposedly, and correct me if I'm wrong, hopefully you will, but supposedly, like you can like go for like a day without seeing a gas station or something like that in some parts of those highways, which means you make sure you fuel up at the gas station and maybe even carry some extra, but still yet, I mean, I'm used to leaving where what's up, Richard? How you doing, man? I watched a couple of your videos while I was up there when I got a minute. um Big Vic the reprobate, what's up with you, homie? Takes you 2 days to go to James's house. Well, that's because you stop midway. We do that. I mean, you really should be able to get here in one day because it's only like, I don't know, 12-hour drive. But I mean, if you're tired and you need to do stuff, then it's better to stop. Well, that's when you were a over the road truck driver. Big Big Vic knows about that stuff because he's been there, he's done it. So he knows about it. Yep, Hungar used to do that crazy Triangle, Florida to California or Texas to New York and then back to Florida. Yeah, I mean, I've seen some of those roads and I was just like, that's one good thing, especially where I live, right? I can basically drive from my house to Atlanta and never be in the country. You know what I mean? Never worry about, oh man, when's the next gas station coming up? No, I mean, because it's just the nature of living in an urban sprawl. Basically, it's an urban sprawl. Um, but yeah, in this particular case, she was moving to get a job on the other side of Australia with a construction company. Because, well, you know way better than me, but apparently in that part of Australia, they're constantly mining and just doing stuff. So that was her gig. She was gonna leave her life in Sydney and husband, and that's unfortunate because I liked him. He's a good guy, and go all the way to the other side of Australia. She was funny too, and not that I want to like invoke the bear, but one thing I always found really funny about her is she was born and raised in uh, North Kanukistan, and she also was convinced that Canada would just whip the America's ass. And then when she moved to Australia, she switched it up and was like, Australia would whip America's ass any day of the week. And I listened to that until I lost my temper on her one time. And she's like, you don't even know Conco. Australia would beat the shit out of America. And I'm like, Fluff, we train Australian troops and we defend them from China. That's part of our agreement with Australia. You guys give us a shit ton of raw metal and shit like that, and we promise that the Chinese will not invade you. And she was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, Bears at Claricon. Well, good for him." And I'm like, "Yeah, I mean, why do you guys bring that shit up? Because, and I don't mean you right now or anything like that, but I'll tell you what, most Americans, most, not all, because there's always somebody out there that's going to talk some shit. But your average American could give a shit less about whether we could conquer whoever. We literally do not care. It's literally just not a thing that we think about all day. Yeah, Bear leaves his house all the time, man. Believe it or not. I mean, he's out there. He's out there in the streets running wild and shit. But and that's so weird to me, especially the Canadian thing, because it's like I've said a million times, the United States will never in a billion years invade Canada. We're not ever going to freaking invade Australia. I mean, get out of here. The only way we're landing troops in Australia is if the Navy's having like a thing there, or China starts getting uppity. At which point, yeah, then we're definitely going to slide in there and be like, hey, you don't mess with our Aussie bros, okay? At we tell the Chinese, you're going the right way if you're looking for a spanking. But so yeah, there's all this drama in the LBC about could America beat this country, or that country, or other country, and it's like so sick of that shit. Dark Age of Camelot hardcore, yep. I was on a server called Palamides, and I was a Celtic hero. So I was the class that could turn into a giant humanoid deer thing, which allowed you to regenerate like a shit ton of health. Um, I was the number one fighter on my server for about 3 months, or hero, not fighter, hero. and I led a guild called Kingdom of Hibernia. I actually named it after the Kingdom of Hibernia, and we had 180 players in the guild, and we're part of a giant alliance too. Um, I was the guild leader on that one, and then I had my Canadian friend Skid. His real name, well, he's passed years ago, like 15 years ago, but his real name was Don, and he would run like all of the raids, and I would run all of the PvP. So I mean, he wasn't like a guild member. He was more like an assistant guild leader, you know, because yeah. And boy, he spoiled the shit out of your boy for sure. Let me tell you. Because Skid would he would go like when Trials of Atlantis came out, which we all know sucks. And yeah, why would we want that? Bunch of French people. Yeah, you can keep it. Yeah, too many Catholics. Yeah, they used to have a problem with that. But yeah, Skid would run all the PvE raids because some of those raids would take, like you said, some of the raids would take 100 people. You know what I mean? If when you're going after, the high end gear. I ran PvE or PvP or RVR, we called it back then, and we would he would run entire raids specifically to get me gear. And then he would tell the people that were showing up to the raid, we're running this raid because I want a malice axe, right? And everybody be like, okay. And he's like, so anything that drops other than the malice axe is open for anyone. But if the malice axe drops, I am keeping it. And sometimes people would be like, well, why? Why are you keeping the malice axe? You can't even use it. And he'd be like, I'm going to give it to my guild master. And that's just how we worked, man. Because Skid was never into RVR. He really wasn't. But he wanted to be a part of the team desperately. So, and it did help that we hung out like back at that time, I'd been going through a lot of bullshit with exes and whatnot. You know how that can be, some of you. And so if I wasn't busting my ass at work, I was playing Dark Age Camelot. It become kind of my existence for a little while. And yeah. So Skid and I were a great team because he was super patient and he knew every one of the in-game raids. And some of those raids, like I said, would take what was a Malisax? Oh, yeah. See, my your Australian ears are having a hard time with my Appalachian English. Malice axe, an axe full of malice. It was an in-game artifact weapon. There were only a couple of them on the whole server. I had one. And it was just a badass axe. And when you got it and you activated it, you could choose whether it would be one-handed or two-handed. I made mine two-handed because I played a hybrid fighter that I carried a shield and I was really high spec in the shield, but I wasn't as high spec with the one-hand weapon, which was a battler sword. And I carried the malice axe on my back. And the way I was spec'd, I would run up on somebody and I'd do the shield slam, which would stun them for like 3 seconds, right? Now, 3 seconds might not seem like a lot, But if you're stuck and you spin around and get in their rear arc, then you pull out that two-handed axe and you start hitting them with I forget the name of the attack, but it stacks stun and it hits for like a ton of damage. So I could like 2 or 3 shot most. I mean, mages, I would like shield slam one hit, they're dead. And we're talking max level mages, but even other warriors. If I got that shield slam off and got on them, yeah, 2 hits, maybe 3, and they'd be done. Plus, my character had like twice as many hit points as pretty much any other fighter on the server, because my current wife played the game and her character was maxed out at gem crafting and armoring. So every single piece of armor I had was 100% quality, the best in the game, and then overcharged with buffs because of her level of gem crafting. So I don't know 100% because I never seen everybody's character on that server, but I would say that I may have had the best equipment of any player on my server, you know. And I'd even feel bad sometimes, like, I'd be running around solo across a bridge at like Crimthane or something, and a Nightshade or a Shadowblade would jump out to try to assassinate me, and they'd hit me, and my life would like go down just the tiniest little bit, and then that's when they knew they were effed right in the A. And I'd be like, shield slam, pow, 1 hit, go home. Now, I didn't dominate Dark Age Camelot quite as hardcore as I dominated Shadowbane. When I played Shadowbane, my character, I literally would take on groups of other people. And I don't mean one group. I mean, I would, by myself, solo 16 other players. And, yeah. They never nerfed me either. That's kind of the craziest part of it, But basically, I did a little math and a lot of reading and figured out that if you played a Inquisitor, there was a way to spec your character that basically made it super cheaty. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people, they would spec their Inquisitor, and because it's a cleric, they'd put points in wisdom and strength and all that. I played pretty much every MMO during my MO story arc. Yeah. I started with EQ, had a max level barbarian fighter, and then I moved to Dark Age of Camelot, and then I played Shadowbane. I played Eve, I played, like I said, pretty much every MMO for the longest time. Like I had a lifetime membership to Latro. Played EverQuest 2. My wife really liked EQ2. I never so much liked EQ2 because I felt like EQ2 was basically just WoW with better graphics. I played WoW. I played the Old Republic. The Old Republic was an interesting experience because I started the guild on the Sith side. Rage was the name of the guild, which I was super happy that we got such a cool name. And we had like a couple hundred members in the first, when the game was first released and everything. So it looked like we were going to kick a lot of ass, right? With like super high membership and everything. And then it was like by the second month of the game's release, we were down to like 20 members, because the problem with that game is it was basically Knights of the Old Republic, the MMO, right? So it had these amazing storylines for your character that you followed, right? Just like Knights of the Old Republic. But unlike Knights of the Old Republic, which actually ended, and then you're like, well, that was a great game, blah, 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 right? In SWTOR, once you finished your character's storyline and everything like that, it was like, all right, well, do whatever you want now. And so what happens, a bunch of people played the game, got their character all the way leveled up through their storyline, and then quit. The original Dark Age of Camelot, you had 3 realms and they had shit tons of PvE. And then if you went through, each realm had 2 gates, like Crimthane Gate and Cruac Gate, if you played for the Irish, which I did. If you went through that gate, you would find yourself in what they called the frontier. And the frontier was full on PvP. Like as soon as you crossed over, you were now in the PvP area, right? And of course, there were some guys that played assassins and stuff, and they would kind of stealth down to the enemy's gate because they were hoping for lobies to, zone through to be like, oh, look, the frontier, wow, neat, so that they could gank them. And then in each frontier, there was like 5 castles. And you could, if you had a big enough army and equipment and stuff, you could actually conquer those castles. And then you could be like for the longest time, Caer Crimthane was my guild's castle. That was just it. We protected it. We fought over it. We had I spent shit tons of the guild points we earned playing the game to upgrade the castle to the max level, and then have our guild banners hanging off the front of it, and upgrade the guards. And that game was like the first game that I ever played where if you joined a guild, you could the guild master could design a guild cloak and emblem. And like for 1 gold piece, which really wasn't much in that game, you could go to a NPC, merchant, and you could have your cloak dyed, and then you would be running around in your armor wearing your guild cloak with the emblem on it. And our guild cloak was a quartered green and yellow with a Celtic knotwork hound on it. And of course, my character's name was Conchobar, not Conchovar. I spelled it wrong. Not on purpose. I actually thought I was spelling it right. And then I found out I'd spelled it wrong. And then I was like, well, who cares? I mean, still playing this character. I've already invested too much time. And the reason I say that is when that game came out, to level from 45 to max level 50, okay, to level from 49 to 50, which was max level, took as much XP as from 1 to 49. So it was crazy. Yeah, we're still in the works for that. But like I said, with having to go to the wake and then going to the funeral, which I didn't go inside. I stood outside with my dog, and I didn't tell anybody why. So, but basically, this was my wife's stepmom, and she was super awesome. I loved her to death. She's such a good person. She's in her mid-90s, and she passed. And luckily, it didn't drag out forever. It was relatively quick. They're like, "Oh, you've got all this," and then like a week later, she was done. And but she was a member of a Presbyterian church, and I can't go into a Presbyterian church and pray with them. I guess I could. That's just I'm not supposed to. So I mean, we had the dog with us, so and they wouldn't let the dog in the church anyway. So I just stood outside and was like, all right, whatever. But She is a really great woman, though. So, you know, I really, really prayed that even though she might have been a member of what I would consider a very heretical religion, um, I think she was so good, and I prayed hard that God would forgive her and take her, take her because, I mean, maybe she'd never even heard about, orthodoxy or anything like that. And you can't blame people. You can't blame people for not being a member of a religion that they never even heard of. It's like, right? That's just not fair, right? So I put in a good word for her, let's say, you know, and hopefully the big guy upstairs had his ears open for me. I know he did because, and realized, yeah, this was a good lady. And, just because she was a member of a church that, we might not necessarily agree with doesn't mean she shouldn't be able to go to heaven. You know, like they say, judge people on what they do. And, yeah, if you judged her on what she did, she was a great person. She's a school teacher, all of her life. She fought for desegregation in Florida back when that was a thing. So, yo, Leth, what's up, Timbo? What you doing? So, anyway, she was like just a good person. And she survived by like a ton of kids and grandkids and me, which, I'm not related to her at all, but she was very fond of me, you know.
Hey,
Hey Timbo, what's up?
not much. That's a weird thing being called Timbo again.
You had to know that it was like
It
going.
happens, I know. Mainly my aunt does that. I had only like my aunt and one other person call me Timbo.
Well, your name's Tim, so it's going to be Timbo. It's like my name is James, so sometimes people have called me Jimbo.
Hey, fair. Again, it's just a rare thing that happens.
Uh, Not that rare, but
For me,
anyway,
it
how you
was.
doing, man? Did you
I'll
miss
say,
me?
eh,
Yeah, I missed you too.
like, I mean, rare
What's
for me
bad
because
about
many people
Presbyterians? Oh no, these weren't Presbyterians. These were Pentecostals.
Pentecostals. I haven't heard those in a long time either.
Yeah, I didn't even know they existed outside of Appalachia. Honestly,
Yeah,
they do. They're
yeah,
up there though
they
in
are.
East Kentucky, man. They have their tent revivals and
Pretty sure there's a couple around here too in the
flip flop
flatlands.
around, supposedly speaking tongues and all that shit. And it's like, no,
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 I'm trying
no.
to get my dad to understand that because he's like, "Oh, what about speaking in tongues?" I'm like, "That's not what it means."
It's
Look
not
up
what
what
it
it says in the
means.
Bible. It's not you speak in some random divine language. It's that your prayers can be understood by others who probably shouldn't be able to understand you.
Are you listening to something or are you live streaming?
I'm live streaming. Why? What's up?
Okay, when you have a sec, I want to chat with you.
I'm not gonna have a sec for like 2 hours, so I just started. Is it important?
Yes.
If it's important, then I can always end a live stream and just start one later.
Well, can you step away or can they talk amongst themselves for 5 minutes and you can mute it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna.
I get what you heard the boss. So Timmy, you are in charge.
Oh
Good job.
boy.
Well, that's why you're my Andy Richter, right? I'm the Conan O'Brien. You're the Andy Richter. You take care of shit and keep the show going.
At
So,
least we have a squirrel hermit and
yeah, you
yeah.
got a great audience already. I mean, so just do your thing, bro.
Guess I could talk about my games and stuff. Like soon tomorrow we'll be fighting some pretty bad things soon. Having to deal with in my game with Bubba. We're going to be fighting some like a troll, some dragon men, a bunch of cultists. Some players are already crying how it might be a death for us all. But I still have hope. And I got plans. Never give up hope. Right, Squirrel Hermit? And yeah, Squirrel Hermit. My name came from Tim Allen. I was named after an actor. Dang it. Oh. Just don't know, though. Would it be better for me to use the prayer spell next time in that game or not? I feel like it would be useful. Yeah, trolls. I'm not a fan of fighting against them. They're pretty annoying. Heck, last time that I fought one, my elf got killed by friendly fire. Literal friendly fire, because oh, neat. Literal friendly fire because of shoot, one of the other players flew flasks of oil at the enemy and at the troll, and one of them hit me and set me on fire. Heck, yesterday we had a good session 0 for another game. We were setting up characters and stuff. I've got basically a diplomat spy master character in the works. That'll be a fun character to play. One of my friends is going Black Sheep Noble kind of character. How about you, Squirrel? Any cool games with you or anything fun? And anybody else in the chat, you can also talk about things. It'll be helpful for me because I need something to bounce off of. Let's see here. Shadow's in the chat, or at least was. I think he still is. It's not that far off, I think. Change the fire vulnerability aspect, huh? I just know that they're very hard to kill, and it's not fun when you go up against one without magic weapons or its weakness. Oh, there's James. He's back.
Back again. So anyway, yeah, just family stuff. Nothing anybody should worry about. But
Yeah.
this has been a weird month for me. It's like niece had a baby, daughter had a baby, wife's stepmom, who I really really like, got sick.
Got a lot of Halloween babies, huh?
Yeah, right. It's crazy, So but that is life,
Yeah.
It's like people coming and going, the old wheel keeps a turning, as Journey said.
Like most of my family's like in the summer, and I'm like the only one in the winter. I'm like the only one who's in January.
Oh, you took a couple weeks? Yeah, I've been Richard, I haven't ran a role-playing game in probably a month and a half, 2 months.
I was talking about my game, like the Bubba game that we've been having. We're in a pretty big pickle with the
Bubba's game.
Yeah, this Monday game, we're kind of going to be in a really big fight next session, which is tomorrow.
Well,
I got
get
a
your
plan.
shit together.
I got a plan. Now, James, I could do two things. One's a little bit riskier. The other one's a little bit safer. I could either use the scroll of prayer that I have that gives a really good bonus to the entire party, or I probably have a magical horn that does something, and I think I know what it does, but I'm making a big shot in the dark, and I don't know.
Here's what I'm saying to you. Use the prayer.
Prayer.
And the reason I'm saying this to you is because you know what it does.
Fair.
So you don't have to like worry about am I getting ready to blow this horn and completely wreck my whole party, you know? Um, and if it's a big fight, yeah, you're going to need that prayer, bro.
I get that. Some other people's been talking about like using web and just going back downstairs, trying to slow the enemy down.
It will
Some,
slow the enemy down. A web will slow the enemy down. Plus, if you can web it until it does a strength check to break out of the web, I mean, you can literally just beat the shit out of it. You know what I mean? And it'll get huge penalties to try to respond because it's webbed. But I mean, I don't know what you're fighting though. What are you fighting that's got you?
let's see. It's a troll, a few harpies, a few
A
dragon men.
troll and harpies? Oh my god. Yeah, no, I'm saying run at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's one of those, oh, I felt my save. The harpies have charmed me, and now here comes the troll.
Yeah, that's a one big worry.
You know?
But that's also why I think the horn might be useful.
Well, I mean, the horn could be useful if it could stop the harpies from harping.
That's one thing I think it could be doing. It could
That's
also
not a
be.
word. Acts 17:5-9, yeah.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
the other thing is that maybe you could I mean, you don't know, but for all you know, it could be like a horn of Valhalla or some shit.
That's another thing I thought it might be. That was like my main thought actually, because
It
Horn
could
of
be a horn
Valhalla
of
would be useful.
Valhalla. It could be a horn of blasting, a horn of deafening.
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
Horn of
there's so
Deafening would
many
help.
things it could be. And because you're playing old school Dragon Slayer like that, I mean, all of that stuff is in the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, literally, you could,
I mean, this horn, we just found it. We haven't gotten the chance to identify it yet. It was guarded by two statues that came to life. One of
yeah,
thunder
that's
and
a thing
lightning.
when you play old school gaming. Animated statues were huge back in the day.
Yeah, it was like a thunder and lightning type of statues.
Yeah,
At least, they were of the gods of thunder and lightning.
right. Like if you read like Beckme or BX, you will find that there are just freaking animated statues all over the place doing all kinds of shit. But I haven't got my other camera on, but in case you guys are wondering what I'm doing, I can show you up here. Oh, just knocked his arm off. I'm building knights
Oh,
for Legions Imperialis. I have an entire knight household army. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there.
also, yesterday we had our first more like a brainstorming session 0 for a game where we were finishing up our characters. I'm basically a diplomat spy master.
Okay. So you're like an assassin, but you've got charisma.
Yes, very charisma based assassin.
Yeah.
Well, when I got home, I found in my mailbox creature law and treasure law for Rollmaster Unified. And the masochist in me is kind of like, I wonder if I want to run that at some point. But yeah, that's the masochist. Because I mean, we're talking Rollmaster here, so chart master. I mean, of course, over the years, I've learned ways around it by I've got a printer right there, an HP laser jet printer. So of course, I'm going to print out crit charts and attack charts and all that. And I found a really shitty online character generator. Oh my God, it's like the worst.
Oof.
I'm thinking that it might be a better idea for me to just build the freaking characters
yourself and just
just do it by hand than to fuck with here they are.
There was a
They
place
were
that I
waiting
found
for
that
me in my mailbox. So that's creature law. Treasure Law, and of course, I already had the core book and the Magic book.
Back when I played
I
Call of
love the Magic
Cthulhu.
system in this game. I always have.
That's good. I do have like issues with like at least the more modern D&D style of magic system. I do not like it.
I don't think there is a more modern style of D&D Magic.
Fifth edition.
It's still Vancian though, right? Or at
Yeah,
least it was
kind
when
of.
I ran it.
I didn't like it because of the spell slots, and it's just like eh.
The problem with 5th edition is everyone is a mage.
Yeah.
Like even the fighter's a mage. Everybody's a mage. And that was the same problem they had with 4th edition, because since everybody was using at will and whatever powers, it turned out that every character felt the same when you played it. Because when you would go around the table, you'd be like, okay, fighter, what are you doing? And the fighter might be like, I'm going to use my at will slashing attack. And then you go to the mage, what are you doing? I'm using my at will like magic missile attack. Or maybe somebody be like, I'm going to drop my encounter power. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like at the end of the day, the mechanics of every character were the same. You pick the card power, and then that's the thing you tried to do.
It seemed like they made templates and just like rename things just to make it fit the class.
Yeah.
And that's like, yeah.
Master, a game I still need to look into at some point, Squirrel, but
never heard of that one.
I am a person who suffers deep and severe trauma from my years of running Rollmaster style games. And yet, for some reason, I just keep doing it.
I like the magic system on RuneQuest mainly.
And you know what they say about doing the same exact thing over and over again, expecting something different to happen? Yeah, it means you're crazy.
Yep.
And, now I will say this, though. I can say this. In general, my players actually love Middle-earth role-playing, Against the Dark Master, and Rollmaster. I mean, the players love it. So, I mean, there is that to be said. Like, I could absolutely bust this out, get some characters made, and my players would be 100% cool with it because, one, it's a fantasy role-playing game, which they all, it's what they all want to play because no one's got enough imagination to play a sci-fi game. And because with Rollmaster, it's so DM facing, as they say. So the players actually don't have to know shit. They can just show up and sit at the table and wait for you to tell them to roll the freaking 100-sided die. And then after that, it's like, oh, well, it's all on you now, which, like I said, if you have access to a 3D printer, you print all of their damage charts and everything out, and you hand it to them and make them take care of that shit. And be like, yeah, that's what it is, bitch. But it is what it is.
Again, with what Phyllis Kana said, I much prefer RuneQuest style. The magic system in that I think is phenomenal. Everybody has magic in that game. It just your spells are not of you have points for it. It's you can use a spell either so many times through your I forgot what it was exactly, but you have like a magic point system based off of one of your stats. And then there's some spells that just one time use per week, one time use per day, or something like that.
Yeah, he copied a lot from Rollmaster, the guy who made RuneQuest.
Wait,
the thing about RuneQuest that's kind of awesome is they break the spells into. I think RuneQuest does this too. It's like all the spells are broken into like lists of maybe 10 spells. And your ability to cast a spell is determined by your spell lore and all that. So there's like 100 different spell lists, right? Now, a player could have more than one, obviously, right? But
Yeah.
like if you're a channeler, then there's like, I don't know, maybe 10 channeler spell lists you can get. And as you spend points and whatever, you get to use the higher level channeler spells, right? So you might start out with a spell that doesn't do anything but maybe what's it called? Uh puts like it stops somebody from bleeding. Okay. That's the spell. Like in MERPs, it would be called Blood Law. And basically, you cast a spell, you spend the mana, and an enemy or a friend of yours will stop bleeding out. That's pretty good. I mean, right? But then as you get more proficient, it goes from like
Oh
blood
yeah.
law to muscle law to freaking bone law to organ law.
See,
And as you open up each of these magical abilities, now your character can like, regenerate muscle, mend bones, fix a ruptured liver, and
yeah, it was aura that I was thinking of. Aura is your magic's basically your ability with magic.
right. And you can have various lures because I mean there's really nothing stopping a character from picking up like fire lore, ice lore, whatever, right? And then
Yeah.
you could have a character that's an elementalist and they're basically just swinging through um shooting firebolts and at higher levels fireballs and ice things and whatever. I mean, gotta run. Okay, I'll see you later. Live stream at 7. Okay, cool. But
With RuneQuest, you had like 3 different lists. Well, at first 2. The third one was the sorcery, and that came in I think 3rd edition.
yeah, in Rollmaster you've got like elementalism, channeling, sorcery, shit. I mean, there's so many thaumaturgy.
Yeah, originally there
I
was like
mean,
spirit.
there's just so many, and within each school of magic, there's multiple specific,
Yeah.
specializations. So
With RuneQuest, it was mainly spirit and then rune magic.
spirit and rune magic.
Yep,
Yeah, rune
spirit.
magic I think was the only kind of magic that dwarves could use.
In ours, it's anybody, and especially if you're like part of a religious group, that's usually what you'd probably have is a rune magic type stuff. But everybody had spirit magic. Everybody did. It's just a common thing.
Yeah, in Rollmaster, everyone don't get magic. If you make a human fighter, guess what? You ain't got magic. Unless you spend points to go outside of your career field and pick up a non-career skill, which costs like double or whatever the points. And then so you can spend all of your freaking XP to learn magic so that you can suck as a fighter and a mage. I mean, that is a thing. Or you could play a paladin, which basically starts the game with channeling and is a good fighter too. And the channeling is for healing. Yeah. Yeah, that is one good thing about RuneQuest.
Actually, I
How
don't think
you
you're
can
supposed to
train
be
up.
able to go. You can trade up, but there's issues with that. One, you have to find somebody better than you, and also I don't think you can just go up to max level exactly, but you can
Well,
get pretty good proficient with it.
finding somebody better than you, yeah, that's half of the thing right there.
Yeah, you have to find somebody who can train you in that, and then pay them lots and lots of money.
Right. Well, depending on where you are, yeah. Okay, there we go. Here's core law. So I'll have to figure out where spell law is. Now, this game tried to be too many things. And if I ran it, I would like get rid of half at least of the things it's trying to be. Like when you look at the class, or not class, the races, there's like 50 races in here, including goblins, orcs, these weird dog-headed people. It's like, nah, all this shit is gone. If I wanted all that, I'd play Tau Slanta, which is a game that I like quite a bit. And then you pick your culture, which is like, where you were raised, and that gives you some skills that you can take.
Ooh, good job.
And
I'm at
yeah,
50 on my main character.
so you pick your race, your culture, and then your profession. And
Later
each
today,
of
we
these
might need
three
to
things
jump on
gives
and play
you
again.
points for skills. And then how it works is because it's a die 100 like Rune Quest,
Yep.
I think, is you have a total bonus. And so when you roll to attack, I'm looking at the character they put in this game here. Where is his attack bonus? Spear, offensive bonus 60. So anytime he'd attack with the spear, he would roll percentile die and then add 60 to the total. And
Request is a little bit different. It's about difficulty. How difficult is it to hurt somebody?
well, in this game, you basically at minimum need 100. That's like a hard fast rule. You need a 100.
So it
But
does the opposite of RuneQuest because you're looking for the higher number, while RuneQuest is the lower number.
right. So in this one, let's say you attack somebody of medium size with a slashing weapon. Um, if you rolled 103, depending on the armor they're wearing, you'll do X amount of pretty much like bruising and cutting damage and possibly a critical. Like this one says you would do a BS critical. So that means B crit slashing. And then you would just look at, I'm acting like this is super easy. It's not super easy because, like I said, I've already had to look at 2 charts, right? So then we go to the slashing critical table. I'm sure it's in here somewhere. And you roll percentile and pick a number at random for percentile.
11.
All right. On an 11B critical, it says here that you slash the upper arm of your enemy, causing blood to spray out, and your enemy has bleed too, which means they will take 2 points of damage every round until somebody binds that wound. It also does +1 bonus hits. So you know how you originally did like 13 damage and a B crit? It's actually 14 and a B crit, and they're bleeding. So is it a lot to take care of? Yes. If you're relatively organized and you know what you're doing, it's not a big deal. And then of course they had to have a whole freaking, now this character sheet might scare some people though. Like when you see the character sheet, let me find it. Yeah, that character sheet might scare some people.
Yeah.
Because it's wild, right? It's like you roll your actual attributes and then you roll another number and add to your attribute, and that's your potential, which means you might start with an agility of 50 but have the potential to eventually raise it to 75 with XP. And then of course you've got your racial bonus and all that stuff. So but yeah, and then feats of strength and freaking all that. Armor in this game absorbs wounds. So that 13 arm damage you did, maybe 0 if they're,
Armored. Yeah.
they're super heavy armored. They're going to be like, whatever. And there's like 100 skills. And then on the spell list,
How much armor do I have?
this is the spell list where you write down each of the base magic things you do.
Let me see.
It's yeah, it's complicated, but Hungar's level 30 now.
Yeah, he's talking about Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, Guild Wars sucks.
I like it. It's fun.
My mom plays, so there you go.
Look,
Who
I
knows?
didn't.
You might run into a warrior or something. It'll be my mom,
Okay.
and I'll be like, Left plays MMOs like a mom, which is fine. Whatever.
Heck, I mean, I used to play, what was it, 7 Days to Die with my uncle.
I have a friend that like tries to get me to play MMOs with him all the time, but then he quits. And then I'm all like, really, dude? It's like you were all like, oh, we got to play this game. It's going to be the best game ever, and I don't want to play alone. And then I get on, and then like a week later, he's freaking gone, and I'm out here still paying rent on the house and riding around doing shit. And the whole guild I was a member of, they're all fucking gone to the four winds. So you know that's
That
kind of
happens.
my life with this shit. I hang out with a lot of very unreliable people, gaming wise, not life wise, but gaming wise. These are some unreliable people, man. Do not at all post your hopes on
I mean, I did like playing 7 Days to
gaming with
Die
these
on that.
guys because it's really
You know,
not gonna happen.
I did like playing 7 Days to Die with my family.
Yeah, I like playing Dark Age of Camelot with my wife, my mom, freaking all my friends I'd never met that lived in Canada. And see, in Dark Age of Camelot, it was pretty good. I don't know if Phileas Canis is still here, but in DOC, we had like shift change because the Australians all played on the US East server for some reason. And because on the Oceania server or whatever, the Chinese really, really hate Australians. So if you are an Australian playing on their actual server, which is full of Chinese people, and they heard you speaking English, they would just abuse the shit out of you, right? And then you would because Australia is on the other side of the world, it was always good to have Australians in your guild because when you're going to sleep, they're waking up. So if you're in the middle of a battle trying to defend a keep or something like that, and it gets late and you're like, oh man, it's time for me to go to bed. It's okay. The Australians are logging on.
Yeah, if your guild has like half Australia, just have like
Yeah,
Native
you just
Americans.
need a couple of good groups of Australians. And now the Australians on my server, my favorite guild got in big time trouble and had their name changed. Yeah, man, it was like that was the way it was. It's like, man, it's like 1 a.m. I'm going to sleep. I'm on the East Coast, whatever. And it would be okay though, because like Cave and all the Australians would be logging on. And it's like you'd almost give like a pass on report. You'd be like, okay, here's what's going on. The Albions have been attacking Crimthane off and on all night. So keep an eye on that. And blah, blah, blah. And the Aussies would all be like, cool, bro. And then in the morning, if you logged on, you would see the Aussies. They'd be on for a little while. And then they'd be like, well, time to go to bed, guys. Be like, catch you later, bro. It wasn't that bad at all. Warhammer. Yeah. Dark Age of Camelot, the Aussies didn't have bad ping at all, man. But see, here's a thing. I'll tell you a thing I don't understand. And you'll be like, yeah, I totally understand why you don't understand. And that is that the same company that made Dark Age of Camelot made Warhammer Online, right? So why did the release of Warhammer Online suck so hard? And yet Dark Age of Camelot is remembered so fondly by everyone who played it. And honestly, WoW killed Dark Age of Camelot. When WoW came out, people were like, yep, I'm out. And as soon as people started flooding out to play WoW, a game like Dark Age of Camelot that relies on massive battles, fighting over castles and setting up trebuchets and shit, you kind of have to have a population or it's just not going to be a fun game. You're going to log on and it's going to be boring. And like the last time I logged on to the game, it's nothing but stealthers hiding around bridges outside of castles, ganking each other. And then that got boring because none of them remembered me because they're all French, right? Because for some reason, most of the player base of Dark Ages Camelot right now is French. So I would log on. They had no idea who I was because I hadn't played for 5 years. And I'd just run around solo. And so these stealthers would be like, easy game, right? And they'd run up and try to stab me, and I'd freaking murder like 2 or 3 of them before they could get away. And after that happened a couple of times, they got to where I could run anywhere in the frontier and no one ever attacked me. So then I ended up just quit playing because it's like I was a victim of my own success, my good sirs.
Everybody's like, we know not to attack that guy. He's just too powerful. We can't do anything.
Pretty much, yeah. They were like, oh, look at this guy. Let's get him. And after I murdered a bunch of them a couple of times, they're like, nah, F that guy. So since they're stealth, I can't see them unless they run right over me and I see them, in which case shield slam. But, and then, they see me coming, they run and hide somewhere on the bridge.
Kind of
and then I'm
reminds me
just
of
kind of standing there, bored out of my mind.
It kind of reminds me of like 1v1ing people in the PvP arena on Arcade.
No, that's what it is. Because the population has collapsed so hard that pretty much it's just stealthers running around 1v1ing each other and shit.
Oh man.
Yeah, now there is a Warhammer Online that's ran by a private server. I've played on it. I've got a level 50 Dark Elf Blackguard, and I've maxed out a couple of trade crafts and shit like that. And it's so crazy because this private server fixed all of the problems that the actual release had. So it's really weird, like how the release of Warhammer was so unbalanced. And every time they made a patch, it just made it worse. And, people got to where they were literally thinking, are these guys trolling us? Like, because, I mean, how can you F up this bad? Especially after you made such an amazing game that everyone loved and will probably go down in history as one of the best MMOs of all time, right?
Yeah.
And, yeah, he's right. It's because they got... Speaking of video games, who here has heard about Saudi Arabia buying EA?
I haven't heard of that, but hey.
They did.
Oh, they did.
And here's where it gets nuts. Who here has heard that Saudi Arabia has or is putting an end to same-sex relationships in Sims? And there are people online losing their absolute shit. And it's like, well, I don't know what you guys thought was going to happen when, a hardcore theocracy bought the game. I mean,
I couldn't care less.
Yeah, it doesn't bother me. I don't play the game, and I have no intentions of playing the game. I played that game for a while until I realized that why am I playing a game about a person living their life when I'm a person who needs to live their life? You know what I mean? Like, I can do my own shit. I don't need to be like worrying about whether or not, my guy got up on time to go to work. It's like, I got to get up and go to work.
Now, it's either for crazy people who want to live their life in a video game or sadistic people who want to just mess around with The Sims.
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, when Sims 2 and 3 were out, I was pretty freaking hardcore about it. I was. I liked the game. I worked my ass off. I become a firefighter, and I was working my way up. So my character would go to the station every day, and I'd wash the truck and everything like that. And I was having a pretty good time until I realized that what I was doing in The Sims is what I did every third day for a job.
Well, this makes me think, how's this going to change the Mass Effect now?
My answer is, I don't know. I do not know what in the hell is this or that or the other thing. All I know is that they have decided that they're just, I mean, it's Saudi Arabia. So if anyone's surprised, it's just like, ha ha, you're dumb. You know,
Eh,
we're talking about the same country that every year when all these other countries change their EA logo, these bastards did not. You know what I'm saying? So you would see like the rainbow EA logo, like in every country in Saudi Arabia, it'd be a black square that just said EA. Sims was, yeah, it was basically a giant dollhouse. That's
eh,
honestly not a
pretty accurate.
yeah, that's pretty accurate, really. It is a giant dollhouse.
I
And
did
like
have
I
fun
said,
with SimCity more than
when I
Sims.
was fighting my ass off to become a firefighter and then realized that I actually was a firefighter in real life, that's when I just stopped playing The Sims at all. I was like, yeah, I'm done. This is stupid. I mean, I'm over here trying to appease some sim chief by washing trucks and shit. And it's like, I got to do that every 2 or 3 days a week anyway.
And you kept chasing down and dating Sim Tracy.
Well, I did make a sim of you, and I always hunted you down and ended up marrying you. That is true. A little hot blonde. That's like 30 years ago, man. Not 30, but 20 at least. Yeah, I had to make a little hot blonde Tracy in her own house so that I could woo her.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Hungar, you'll never believe what miniature I bought. I don't know why. It was just on sale, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to buy that. Nico Bellic. Somebody make some Nico Bellic miniature from like
I could see that.
GTA
Yeah,
Liberty City or whatever.
yeah, I could see that. That
So
game
of
was
course I had to
popular.
buy Nico Bellic because he is my favorite GTA character of all time. And he
Hey
is
James,
involved
we
in
need to
one
go
of my
bowling.
favorite parts of any video game.
Hey James, we need to go bowling.
Well, my favorite video game of all time is when you go to the park and just beat the brakes off those Albanians. I absolutely loved it.
You know what my favorite part of GTA 4
Got some
was?
Power Girl action going on here.
Nice. It was the fact that you could drive up onto the like swing set and have your car just launch from it.
Yeah. Now, I grabbed my baseball bat, ran down the street to where Roman said they were, and just went to town. And I think I actually murdered the Albanian. Got the hint? You got two girls now, George? Yeah, if your wife is making Sims and having the Sims be you and her and have babies, that's like that reminds me of that like Wayans movie where every now and then the one dude would pop in screen and be like, message, you know, like she's trying to let you know it's time. And there's only one thing to do. If you're with a woman and she starts dropping hints about wanting to have a baby and you don't want to have a baby, you need to let her go. So she can go find a guy to knock her up. Because obviously, if you're not letting her have babies and she really wants to have babies, you're being a selfish dick. You know, get off your ass, let her go, live her dream, and you can be a single guy, you know, because that's obviously you want to be. See, in my mind, I cannot imagine why any man on the whole earth would ever get involved, let alone marry a woman, unless there was at least some plans of a family.
It doesn't make sense to me either.
Makes no sense, man. You're better off solo, unless you want a family, in which case you got to have her. I mean,
Yeah.
and you get the best one you can, obviously. But, you know, these idiots you see, mostly millennials, and they're like, we're married and child free and loving it. And it's like, then why are you married? I mean, you're basically two losers that glommed onto each other because you're afraid of being alone. But at the same time, you really don't want to be married. You really just want to have somebody to go out to watch, the new Lego movie with or something.
I don't get the Lego
Fucking
movie
pathetic.
stuff.
I will say that with my whole chest. It's pathetic. These people who get married but don't want kids at all. It's like, because I'll tell you why. Because these people who get married but say they don't want kids, I guarantee you anything, one of them does. But they're just going along with it because, that's what you do in a relationship. You go along to get along, right? So you're all like, oh, no, we don't want children, but one of you does. Yeah, odds are. And it's probably her, depending on where her hormones are. She hits about 20 something, and all of a sudden, she feels that egg carton starting to dry up. You're damn right she wants kids. And she wants them with you, but you're too big of a selfish prick to want kids because it might mean you can't go golfing on Saturday.
I don't get golf either. Seems boring to me.
To quote a really brilliant dude, it's a good way to ruin a perfectly nice walk in nature, And I'm not trying. Okay, I am being preachy, and I'm going to keep being preachy. That's just my opinion, man. These people, like if me and my wife, not one of us, because then the story won't make sense. If she were to drop off or decide she didn't love me anymore or whatever, I'm done. There is no reason for me to be married. I'm not having any kids. I'm not dating anyone. If I ever got into the mood where I was like, oh my God, I must get laid, I'd hire a prostitute, which I wouldn't do that. But, I mean, yeah, man. I just don't get it. But then again, like Lopan said, I was not brought upon this earth to get it. That is not the purpose of my existence. I'm not here to get it. People going to do people stuff. And see, my brother, he was in his 30s before he even thought about maybe settling down. Right? Whereas I was married and had a kid at 19. But the difference is Hungar, and I hope he wanted to do it and didn't just do it because of obligation to me. Hungar, when he was young, never wanted to be a father. He wanted to be an uncle. You know what I mean? Not just an uncle. He wanted to be the best uncle. He wanted to be the guy that spoiled the shit out of the kids and, made them little maniacs, got me all pissed off with all of the shenanigans, buying them shit they shouldn't have and taking them out to Burger King and buying them Whopper meals with freaking chocolate shakes. And
they wanted to be Uncle Buck.
He wanted to be that guy. He wanted to be the uncle that my kids love. And they do love him. They do. He was always there for them and me. When I went through my divorce, he was like there helping pay bills and take care of shit and making sure everything was awesome. So that's Hungar. Hungar is just a really good guy, right? But eventually, when he was close to 40, he had his own kids. Now, we can argue whether it was good or not, because one of his kids did come, he's very autistic. And now people are assuming that maybe having children too late. Yeah, you want to be a priest might actually have an effect on that. So sometimes I wish Hungard had his kids when he was young, but instead, when he's young, he's taking care of my kids with me. And I know a lot of you guys may not get that whole idea, but I mean, that's just how my family is, and not my whole family, because a lot of people in my family are, whatever. But that's how Hungar is, right? Hungar has always been a devoted brother his entire life, a devoted uncle, a pain in my mom's ass, 100%. But everybody loves him anyway, That's his mutant power. If Hungar has a mutant power, it's that he can be the biggest douche on the planet, and everyone
Uncle
still
Stan.
loves him. It's like that's unfair, man. I
Hungar wants
know
to
the
be
like high
Uncle Stan, huh?
standards and shit. This guy's running around being a maniac, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's the best guy ever." It's like it's unfair, but God bless him. You know, I'm glad he can pull it off. But yeah, I mean, I'd literally have been effed completely multiple times if it were not for Hungar being there and helping out. I would totally be just cooked, you know. There would be Christmases that sucked because, you know, I wasn't making a ton of money and I was getting ran through the ringer by an ex. And those of you who have been through nasty divorces, you know, that shit is not fun. There's nothing fun about it, you know. So anyway, that's my shout out to my brother, who I do make fun of and harass and talk shit about, but at the end of the day is one of the best human beings I know. But maybe not for everybody. Maybe that's just me. Because you love your brother, right? I know. And I love my brother. I'd love all of them, but none of them hang out but you. So, you know, half of my brothers I might see once every 10 years. So, what are you going to do? You know?
My brother's weird.
Yeah, you but your brother's married and also didn't you used to play D&D
No,
with him?
he's not married, and I don't play with D&D with him.
You don't?
No, he doesn't play D&D.
Who did you used to play D&D with?
My
Was
cousin.
that your cousin?
Yeah, my cousin.
Oh, okay.
My brother went off to college and tries to make pizza. He makes a decent pizza, actually.
Well, I mean, you know,
His
we
last
all
one was
have our
actually really
dreams
good.
that we want to follow. Right?
Yeah.
You can't be mad at somebody for wanting to follow their dreams, right?
No, but I'm just like, why would you want to go to college and now Japan? Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe Japanese people really, really like pizza. Think about it.
I think he wants to be like an English teacher or something.
Well, I
Japan.
mean, that's a given, but he'll have to learn Japanese.
I don't. Again, why would you go to college for that though? Then
It's like, I mean, to be an English teacher in Japan, you have to actually speak both languages.
yeah.
Otherwise, it don't work unless you're just going to stand in front of the class and scream at them. And they're just going to be like, but a lot of people go over there and become English teachers.
Even though they're not really qualified to do that either, too.
Dude, you know how it is in Japan? If you're on a bus and you're sitting next to like a friend and you're speaking English, Japanese people will try to sit next to you to speak English to you because they view that as an opportunity
To learn.
to practice their English.
Yeah.
I mean, and they will do that. It's just you know, a thing, you know. And you can live in Japan for like your whole life. You will never be Japanese
Nope.
and never assume that you ever will.
Yeah, no.
Because you never will. You will
Nope,
never
you're
be
gaijin.
Japanese.
You are gaijin. That they do not
Now
allow
that doesn't mean
thing.
some woman won't marry you and crank kids out.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially with how Japanese men are anymore on that.
Right.
Sad,
a
really.
lot of Japanese women find Western men to be incredibly attractive, but at the same time, while her father and mother, your mother-in-law, may be incredibly nice to you, you will never be Japanese.
No, you're still a gaijin.
But you can mitigate a lot of the hate by trying your hardest to speak Japanese
Oh, yeah.
and embrace the culture, at which point they will love you to death.
Oh no, really the biggest issue is literally the Westerners or foreigners who go there to be just
Who go over there
horrible.
and try to not integrate. Yeah.
And it's sad to see because I really rather people not do that.
I'd rather they not do it here, there, or anywhere. But
Exactly.
yeah, like I've even seen like videos where a guy's trying his best to speak Japanese, and other Japanese people see the Americans speaking Japanese, and they actually come up to him and start talking to him, and they're super friendly, and they're like, "So you speak Japanese a little?" And he like answers in Japanese, and they're like, "How do you like Japan?" And he's like, "Oh, I love Japan. It's so amazing." And they're just beaming, because if there's one thing the Japanese love, it's having other people tell them how much they love Japan. Because then the Japanese are like, "That's right, Japan, we're awesome," or whatever they're thinking. I mean, they're a wild bunch of dudes, but I mean, every Japanese person I knew in real life, which is a few, because my dad worked at a Japanese restaurant, a really high-end Japanese restaurant here in Orlando, and we'd get invited to the different parties and stuff. They were all just the sweetest people ever.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
is
yeah.
true though. At one point, we did catch a lot of the management in a back room, downing sake and watching World War II videos of Zeros taking off from aircraft carriers and shit.
A little awkward there.
Yeah, well, no, I walked in and I saw it, and they were all with their headbands on, bonsai, and I was like, okay. I don't, it's my nature. I don't care if somebody's proud of something they did in the past,
The
even if
fair.
it wasn't something that I would necessarily approve of. Still, it's not my business. It's their culture, and if they want to be proud of the fight they gave, us in World War II, I'm okay with that. It's kind
I
of
mean,
like how I always get along so great with Vietnamese people, even though they tried like hell to kill my paterfamilias for like 4 years.
it
And
depends
it's
on what
like,
side of that end the Vietnamese were on. There were a lot of Vietnamese on the south end who did not want,
yeah, but
the communists to win.
you know what the problem though with the Southern Vietnamese, the Ardens,
They probably just didn't want to fight
they
themselves.
sucked. They didn't want to fight.
Yeah.
They were fighting, but they really didn't want to. They're now not all of them, obviously, but some of them, their heart just wasn't in it. They were
Yeah.
tired. They'd been involved in a war for like at that point 100 years,
It's sad, but yeah.
and they were just like, they're like, okay, maybe we can work some shit out over here, but the United States is like, oh no, bitches, oh no, we are fighting. And as a result, millions died. And in the end, no one proved anything. And the whole country is communist anyway.
Yeah.
If you can call it communist.
Anymore. I think they've. I don't know. It's a weird thing where they probably call themselves communists, but
They call themselves communists, right? But they fully embrace an entrepreneurial open market system.
yeah.
Like we have trade agreements with Vietnam now, zero tariffs. We import shit, they import shit. I mean,
No
Vietnam's one
bad
of our
blood
strongest
anymore.
trading partners.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that just a short 80 years ago or whatever, I mean, we were running through the jungle, dropping napalm on their heads. And now it's like, we love Americans, come to Vietnam. It's like, I mean, I love it though. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm glad they don't have any hard feelings about it, because I know I don't. So, I mean, that's good. I'm glad the Japanese, for the most part, have no hard feelings, considering we dropped the sun on them
Twice.
twice. Yeah, I would see. I don't know if somebody nuked the shit out of my country, I might have hard feelings.
One guy actually survived both bombings.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
I'm just saying. If we were in a war and somebody nuked Orlando and I survived,
that guy went to work and had to tell his boss, "Hey, I'm sorry I'm late. A bomb just exploded and took out the entire city." And they're like, "What? No, that can't happen. What are you talking about? That's crazy." And then it happens again.
I was like, "Oh, well, I guess it's not crazy." And he's just like, "Look, sir, I know you didn't want to believe this, but it turns out that the United States has weaponized the sun.
And let's just say Japan had a really mixed feelings about it. The army was like, okay, that's crazy. Can you do it again? The Navy was really crazy about it because they're like, neat. Could you do it 7 more times?
Yeah, they're tough bastards. Gotta give it to them. Gotta give it to them. They are tough bastards, those guys.
What does it take to impress you here? This is crazy.
Yeah, like so you just melted a city. We're not impressed. You know, it'll take more than that to impress us, Bucko. And it's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of making me a little afraid of you guys, honestly. Like, really?
Heck, even after that and the Russians, they still almost had a coup just to keep the war going.
Yeah, I know. They tried to kidnap the freaking emperor,
So he couldn't,
so he couldn't sign a surrender.
Yeah.
Sad. To quote President Trump, when he's talking about something, and then out of the blue, he just goes, sad.
Sad.
It's like, what?
Sad.
Sad. It's sad. But I'm going to build a beautiful East Wing, and you're going to love it or suck my nuts.
That
It's really sad that people care.
It's like these people think that it's being paid by taxpayer money.
It's not.
It's not.
Well, I saw the one lady trying, the reporters were talking all this shit. Does the president have the right to tear down just whatever he wants and shit? And it's just like, you almost want to smack him. Because it's like, the White House has been worked on like 17 times since 1910.
Yeah,
They've built whole wings. They've done tons of shit.
It's always being renovated
now
and updated.
All of a sudden, you're concerned because this one particular guy wants to build a giant ballroom. And it's like, well, I mean, if you win the next election, just have your president tear down the ballroom. Because it is constitutional.
Yeah.
I mean, but you know what my biggest problem with the other side is? The pettiness.
It is all about pettiness.
It's like, I mean, my brother-in-law is a super hippie, and he and I got into it. And, he didn't like facts. So I was all like, well, okay. And he's like, look, we might as well not talk about this because you're never going to convince me. I'm never going to agree. And I just had to say, that's because you think you know shit, but you don't. You're stupid. And, it's like the Chinese guy said, you can't put more stuff in a bowl that's already full. And that's his problem. But he does have a great excuse. He lives in Gainesville. I'm telling you, the worst.
Yeah.
I made a post about it. Like, reasons I hate Gainesville. There's a meth head at every freaking traffic light begging for money.
Yep.
And college kids drive around that place willy-nilly like freaking maniacs, right? So even though Gainesville is probably not even half the size of Orlando, it feels like it's 3 times the size of Orlando. It's way more crowded, And yeah, when you drive through, man, you got to pay attention because, a 19-year-old on a Vespa is an idiot, and they'll cut right out there because it's a college town and they feel like it's their town. They can do whatever the hell they want, right? And
I don't like
that's a nice attitude until you get smacked by a freaking Chevy freaking Challenger or something. Then you're gonna be crying or dead.
You mean a Camaro or?
Yeah, some big car comes whipping through and just whacks you. Then you'll be dead, and you can whine about it in heaven or hell or wherever you go. I don't know, but
because of how people drive here, that's why I probably wouldn't have a motorcycle.
And the second thing that's horrible about Gainesville, because it's a university town, all of the stupid shit you see on TV that they blame on the universities, like the super leftist America hating bullshit, you can observe in real time in Gainesville.
Yeah.
Like you drive down the street and there's like a wall and it's covered in rainbow tatter, colors and, BLM bullshit. And it's just like, you don't see that in Orlando, man. If you were out on public property painting some shit up in Orlando, the cops would show up and probably beat you with a rubber hose or something. And if you acted up too much, they'd shoot you. And that'd just be the end of that, It's so weird how what I would consider an almost totalitarian police state, I'm so happy with it, though. Like people are like, so is that what you want? Cops to be able to show up, and if they don't like what's going on, they just shoot you? And I'm sitting here like, I guess so, yeah. I mean, now that you bring it up, I sort of guess that's what I like. I kind of like the idea that we have rules and laws here, and you just can't F with them. Everybody knows the deal, right? But then you go to these other cities and it doesn't seem like there's any order at all, People are just doing whatever. Like, now, one thing I will say that was cool about Gainesville is they were having the Punk Fest up there. Not that I went to it or anything, but yeah, apparently they have a punk fest up there where they have like tons of punk bands and, Now, the negative news is the day the punk band was, or the day before, the hotel we had got our rooms in raised the price from like $89 to $300 and something. But my wife worked her magic and got the price down by like $100+. So we ended up paying like $2 for the room. But she did that for me specifically because I was like, I'll do whatever you want me to do, but I don't want to be homeless. I already look homeless. And we're in a different city, and I don't know a lot of people, and you're asking me to not know where I'm sleeping tonight. And that's hard for me, I'm having a lot of issues with this. So even though she really didn't want to, because my wife is very thrifty, I wouldn't call it cheap. Even though it wasn't the thing she wanted to do, she did it just for me because she didn't want me feeling away, So that was nice. We had a beautiful room. I love going to the hotel because my wife keeps our thermostat at like 70 something in the house. But when I go to the hotel, I crank that AC down to like 65. Freaking lay in it. Yeah, we did book in advance, but the festival was in advance too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they had that whole like weekend blocked out. And, so we tried to look around and whatever. Plus the hotel we stay at allows me to bring my dog. And I hate leaving the house without my boy. Like if I'm away from the house for too long and I'm like, I start wondering like, well, where is he? I start worrying. I hope he's all right. And
we got snowed out of our house. We had that issue.
You got snowed out of your house?
Yeah, there was a time where we got snowed out of our house for 3 days and our dog was there.
How did that happen?
Oh, I don't remember. It was a long time ago. But yeah, we were worried. I mean,
see, where I live, we get snowed into our house.
Yeah, usually that's what happens. But this time we were out whenever a big snowstorm happened. We couldn't get back home for around 3 days. We thought there'd be pee and poop everywhere. Dog would be, in a little bit of trouble. But she was fine. She didn't even pee or poop in the house. We had to let her out. She was ready to go.
I've been holding it for 3 days, you mother.
Yeah, right? It's just like, I was like, we wouldn't have been mad about the dog peeing or pooping there. It's just like, we just like really surprised that she didn't.
Well, that is just a failure to look at the weather report before you left town.
Yeah.
See, my mom, she looks at what the weather's going to be like every single day. And then it obviously never is correct, but at least she kind of has that feeling of
Idea
false
at least.
security.
Yeah.
Because you know how Kentucky weather is, man.
Oh
It'll be like,
God. Yeah.
oh, we're going to have a sunny day all day.
Fuck.
Boom, snow.
No.
You know, it's like
Yeah.
Little League playoffs. Yeah, I mean, like I said, they were having this huge punk rock festival up there, which honestly I would have been down, you know, depending on who was there. I think Skinny Puppy or whoever, I don't know, but I had to, like the last 2 weeks ago, I went up and I sat in the room with my loved one and held her hand while she was, doing her thing. And by doing her thing, I mean basically passing away. And then we came home, and then we had to go back because of the funeral. And my wife's family, unlike my family, and I mean extended family, they're very like they had people driving in from freaking Detroit and Texas, and you know what I mean? Because that's how my wife's family is. If there's something going on in her family, like everyone shows up. It's just the way it is. Everyone's showing up, right? Whereas my family, outside of my immediate family, I don't even see half of my. I always kind of bitch about it. I've got so many relatives that live within a 5-minute drive of my house. I never see them, you know? But to be fair, I don't go to their house either. So I can't be mad at them, because it's like, it's just when my maternal grandmother died, my family just blew apart. When she was alive, yeah, we had family things, and your ass better be there. You know what I mean? No one wanted to piss grandma off. That was just how it was, right? But after she passed, everybody split to the four winds, and distance is not even the issue because I have a niece that lives 3 hours away, and I see her more than I see her brother that lives 5 minutes away. It's just she shows up. Now, right now, I've decided to take a break from the nights because I'm trying to find a base that I'm sure I've dropped and it's under the table. And I've decided to put German black gray on this car. And the reason
Oh.
I'm going with German black gray is because if you go with German black gray as a base coat for a car that should be a dirty black, then you can actually use normal shade and you can tell you used it. But
Mad
if I
Max
hold
car.
it up here, you would say, yeah, it looks black, right?
Yep.
So Vallejo makes German black gray or gray black, whatever. Let me look. It's gris negro. So black gray.
Okay.
And it is, if you're going to paint something black, don't paint it black. Paint it black gray, and then you've got leeway to do shading and highlighting. Yeah, I'm super torn when I'm away from my pal too, Squirrel. Like, you know, and he was so happy we drove home. He slept the whole way on my lap, which couldn't have been comfortable. And as soon as we got home, he jumped out of the car and did business and then ran in the house and jumped up on the bed, and he was done. He was like, yeah, I'm done. Catch you guys tomorrow or something.
After the last Maltese I had, I'm done with dogs. Oh,
And it hurts.
James froze. Yep. Oh, you're still freezing up, James. Yeah, we lost James here. Maybe he'll come back soon. Oh boy. Yep, there he is. You're back.
Yep.
Oh, never mind.
Say that there was an issue for a while, so I was like, I don't see the
Yep,
bright
James.
yellow letters. That's Bubba's game?
Yeah, you're still freezing up though. Maybe now.
Okay, Troll and
Yeah, yeah,
Harpies. That's Bubba's game?
yeah. That's the game. Yep, we got a troll, a few harpies, and cultists to deal with.
That is a tough fight. That is
Oh
a tough
yeah,
fight.
there is kind of a reason why some of the players are already, I guess, feeling a little defeatist here.
Well, I mean, what level are you guys?
I'm 3. There's like I think a few level 4s. New level 2.
Okay.
I think,
Remember,
and also a
running
level
is an
5. I
option
think. Yeah.
because that combination of monsters, man, that's a tough because you've got crowd controllers with the harpies.
Yep.
You've got your chaff mobs, the cultists, who can just be annoying. And then
Yeah.
you've got that bruiser of a troll that can strip a third level fighter from like full health to dead in one round.
True.
So it's like, that's just a tough fight, man.
It is. It is definitely going to be a tough fight.
Unless you've got like some fireball scrolls or something.
We have our own crowd control. I got my prayer and a -3 AC.
Right. So that's pretty good. But then again, a troll's still going to hit you like on a 15 or up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would be what? Like a 30, 15 or up. That'd be a 25% chance to hit every round. It may not seem like much, but he gets 2 or 3 attacks, depending on the addition. And he does a ton of damage. So it's like,
Yeah, I know that because I mean my level 2 fighter last time got hit pretty hard by one, and then
yeah.
died by an ally hitting me.
I mean, trolls have always kind of been uh, a big deal in D&D. You know what I mean? It's like whether the players are level 5 or level 10 or whatever level they are, trolls, especially if it's a group of them, they never stop being an issue.
Yeah.
Like you'll never see players be like, "Oh, 5 trolls. Who cares?"
Oh well. Yeah.
Yeah, oh well. This will be easy. No, it won't. I mean, they've got way too good of an attack profile. They regenerate like 3 hit points a round. It's not going to be good. It's going to be a tough fight, regardless, right? Especially if you don't have acid or fire ready to go.
What did my character have?
Because that's the only way you can permanently injure them.
Yeah.
Acid and fire, right? So, I mean, there you go. If you don't have acid or fire ready to go to take these guys out, you are just going to be in a world of hurt.
Done.
It's going to suck. You know?
Going to
And
have a bad time.
the combination of the harpies is even worse because of what I told you, you know?
Yeah.
They're
There's
basically
bugs.
crowd controllers.
Yeah.
They're hanging out trying to charm or whatever people. And, you know, if you lose half of your group because of bad saving throws versus harpies,
Usually it's
you're way in trouble at that point.
usually we have worse because usually it's all but one person.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh god, last time it was all but one person.
another monster that's that way in old school D&D is like ghouls. Because if you get like attacked by a mob of ghouls and people make bad saves, the next thing you know, you've got a party of 8, but 5 people are paralyzed. You know, and it's just like, oh shit. And then it's like, well, you can run, but you can't run and carry your friend out.
No.
And if you do that, then the ghouls are 100% just going to kill and eat them.
Yeah.
And, you know, Hopefully, you got a couple elves in your group that can kind of.
We do have an elf this time, so we do have an elf in our group.
Yeah, if you got an elf in the group, at least the elf is immune to the ghoul paralyzation, but they're not immune to harpies.
Sadly, I think they are
Sadly.
resistant though, but I'm not sure.
Are they resistant? I haven't read my Dragon Slayer book very well at all.
I'd have to look it
It's
up
like I
again.
bought the hardbound and I looked through it and then I put it up.
Hmm.
Yeah, Coco, you're 100% right. I mean, if you know you're fighting trolls, have
Bring
oil,
fire.
have the freaking fire spells. I mean, you got to.
Yep.
Because otherwise, they're just going to keep being a pain in your butt
Nope,
until they win.
The thing I have is definitely the prayer scroll.
Right. I mean, to quote one of my favorite bands, the Rolling Stones, if you're fighting trolls and you don't have acid or fire, I mean, time is on their side. Eventually, they are going to wear you down.
I guess we'll be just running down a dream of surviving.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm trying to find the other base for my knight. I would like to finish building these knights, but I have somehow misplaced a base. Now, I do have bases that could absolutely fit, but I kind of want them all to be the same. You know, I'm a huge fan of uniformity when it comes to this sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, and here's what's crazy too. It's like, man, that's a big freaking base. You know what I mean? That is a big base, and it's got like the concrete on it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so at some point I gotta get to the UPS store and mail some stuff to freaking the Great Northern Retrobate. Now that I'm back from freaking College Town, USA. Of course, I made a point of wearing my UK hat everywhere I went up there.
Yeah.
Because I want them to know.
UK fan?
No, that's where my mom went. But you know Kentucky, man. We're a basketball state.
Yeah.
Florida is all about football. And they were asking me, did you guys not have a football team? And I was like, not for a long time. And they're like, why? Because we didn't have enough flat ground to build a field.
Not a very good one in Kentucky either.
And also the weather sucks. So we did have inside basketball gymnasiums.
Yep.
And we also, in those basketball gymnasiums, played dodgeball. And sometimes we played.
Remember the 5 Ds of dodgeball.
Yeah.
Dodge, duck, dive, dip, dodge.
Yeah, I love that. See, here's the thing. I have this resin base that came with the miniature that I didn't use. It is the exact right size. It's a little bit taller, though. So it's going to look a little taller. But it looks like a city thing. So I think that's just what's going to happen. I'm not going to drive myself crazy looking for a base. But yeah, Coco, I was playing a game once, 3rd edition D&D. I was a player, and the freaking douchebag running the game thought it'd be cool to have a troll that had actual classes and was wearing a ring of fire resistance.
That's not cool. That's just mean. That's just terrible.
I didn't say anything, but I was thinking, wow. You know, because we're fighting it and people are throwing fire on it and shit. And Troll's just like, nope. And I'm like, what is going on here, right? So then, you know, I ended up beating it to the point that it's just laying on the ground in a heap. And, you know, it came back and I beat it again and it came back. And we went through that for a minute. And then finally, when it got beat down like the 3rd or 4th time, my wife, who was playing the thief in the group, searched it and found it had a ring, pulled the ring off, and then we just burn its ass. But it was just like, really? This troll's got a ring of fire. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm not going to argue with the DM about his shit. I mean, you do you, but I mean, between you and I was like, that is kind of cheesy. That's a little bit like find the one weakness this monster has and then take it away and be like, here, fight it. It's like, that's what I call being an asshole, like, but whatever. It all went well, Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Which is why, Coco, I don't know if you ever had this experience. This has been my experience the whole time I played third edition. As soon as the players hit like level 9 or 10, that'd be the end of the game. And sometimes sometimes you got players and they're like, but I want to keep going. I'd be like, nope. And why? Because I don't feel like needing a spreadsheet to figure out what the hell you're doing. And this is coming from somebody who has ran Rollmaster MERPs against the Dark Master. Third edition at high levels is worse than any of them. So you might have to look at some charts to figure some shit out. Okay. But with third edition, it's going to be a thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I'm playing a level 15 spell singing douche master. And so on my first action, I'm going to do this thing, which will literally, and you're just standing there like, what? Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that makes them strong. Yeah. They get 3 attacks. They have a good to hit. Their THAC0 is good. They regenerate a lot. And they're just, trolls are just powerful bastards that you probably don't want to get too involved with if you can help it. I mean, I had a troll one time literally one shot a player character in my group.
That's sad.
We laughed about it, man. We laughed and laughed. He deserved it too, because the whole group was all like, hey, we're going to this dungeon, so let's all get together to go to the dungeon, right? This guy who was playing like a thief douchebag, thief cleric or some shit, right? He's all like, well, you guys go ahead and I'll meet you there. I got to do business in town. And the rest of the group is like, I don't think that's a great idea. I think, we can wait for you or just wait until we get back. And of course, this guy who Bubba knows about, he's dealt with him. He got all freaking argumentative about it and said, no, he had stuff. That's what his character was doing, blah, blah, blah. So everybody finally said, fine. They went to the dungeon, right? Well, there was a troll waiting on the trail to ambush. And when it saw like 7 players plus henchmen and stuff come down the trail, the troll, which was not stupid, decided, that might be a bit much. You know what I mean? Not really worth it, Like, could he have beat him? Maybe, maybe not. The troll wasn't sure, so he's just going to let it slide, right? But when the lone bard came traipsing down the trail with no one else around, the troll was like, oh, yeah, this is my boy right here.
Yeah, there's an easy target.
And so I had the bard player roll to see if he, or the thief cleric is what he was, roll to see if he noticed anything. And of course he didn't. So I just told him, you see like a weird flash of movement to the left of you, and then everything goes black. And then that's all I told him. And he's sitting there while the rest of the group, they're going through this abandoned temple. They're getting involved in all kinds of shit, whatever, right? And then they finally decide they want to head back to town. And on the way back to town, they find a bloody boot, and their aforementioned partner's foot was still in it. And they're like, I wonder what did this. And then the one of the dwarves had like the animal lore or monster lore proficiency, and he made a roll, and he's all like, "Looks like a troll," and everybody's like, "Damn, okay, good thing we didn't have to fight that." Even though they probably will have won, you know.
Eh.
I mean, a full party ready to go at level 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, they probably will have won. Yeah, yeah. That is, I mean, again, Phileas, that is the reason that I would run third edition, but as soon as players started getting higher level and getting all the crazy feats and everything like that, I'd be like, okay, we're done. Now we're going
Oh,
to play, you know, another game, and the players would be like, but we want to play D&D. And I'd be like, all right, make a new character, first level. Or actually, most of the time, I think Hungar would agree. I'd let them start like third level. Yeah, in Adventure Conquer King or Castles and Crusades, if something crits, there's a chance that you could get like an arm, a leg, an eye, or something ripped off, or whatever. And in Adventure Conquer King, it has more to do with like if you get reduced to below 0, when someone tries to heal you, you have to kind of make a system shock roll. And depending on what you roll, that will determine whether you can come back to life or not, or uh, how effed up you are when you do come back to life. So let's say you get knocked to like -5, then you have to roll on that chart with a -5. And if you don't roll a good enough number, your character just cannot, he's dead. He's just dead, right? But if you roll a number that you can roll a number that says your character comes back to life, but he's missing his left eye. And then, yeah. And a lot of people like that kind of play, it's like, I mean, it's one of the big selling points for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
oh, James, our dwarf almost lost his weapon.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, you know the statues I was telling you that we were fighting?
Yeah, Thunder and Lightning.
Yeah, whenever he hit it with the weapon, it started to the weapon started to shake uncontrollably, and it seems like it had something to do with hitting the statue with it.
Yeah, I remember there were monsters way back in the day that could literally, like, your sword could get stuck in them.
No, this one was more like it would have shattered the weapon.
And then you're standing there and you can't really fight because you got to make a strength check to try to pull the sword out. It's like, damn.
It seems like this one was more about your weapon possibly shattering from it. It was save
Hey, I
versus
mean,
death or the weapon.
again, I don't know about Dragon Slayer, but in AD&D, yeah, weapons have toughness saves.
Yep.
And if you do something silly and your weapon just takes, you make your toughness save, and if the weapon don't make it, then well, it doesn't have to be a weapon. It can be like a door or any inanimate object can be destroyed,
I basically was like worried about my hammer getting destroyed, so I kind of swapped off to my mace.
Yeah, you really want
Although,
to piss some players off. Have an enemy hit them with like an AoE fire spell, and then have all of the spellcasters in the group make saves for all of their scrolls.
oh no.
And the save for a scroll versus fire is shit. It's bad.
I'd be really upset. I got so many healing scrolls right now, and the prayer scroll.
I have
Oh, that would
played the
suck.
game with dudes that would make you make a saving throw for literally everything on your person. So your cloak could catch on fire, your boots could catch on fire, like literally everything the fire hit could just be done. And you're just like, well, all right. I mean, I mean, it makes sense.
It does. It's just one, you'd have to make a lot of saving throws, and two,
Oh yeah, but never underestimate the ability of an old school DM to sit there and watch you roll dice.
oh man,
You know. How did I find a woman interested in my hobbies? My wife's a nerd.
it's possible to find nerdy women, just not likely.
Yeah, okay. I have my father-in-law to thank for the whole situation because my father-in-law raised all of his daughters and his one son to enjoy gaming, but not like role-playing games, like board games, dice games, dominoes. So by the time she got to like university level and beyond, she was already an avid gamer. And then, she met people and they're like, "Hey, have you ever tried D&D?" And she was like, "No." And you know I'll make you a character, and the next thing you know, boom, she's playing D&D, and MMOs and all that with me.
Brother.
Hey,
Okay.
Hungar.
What's my brother doing?
Talking shit.
Well, I know. I've been in the chat the whole time.
Yeah, I don't know why you never joined.
I was getting stuff ready.
Why are you going to mom's?
No, I'm making some ribs and some Texas Twinkies and biscuits and corn on the cob.
Call me crazy, but none of that sounds like something you should be eating.
Why shouldn't I be eating ribs?
You said biscuits, though.
Yeah, I did say biscuits. But the boys are going to eat the biscuits. I'm going to be eating ribs and the Texas Twinkies.
Yeah, I don't believe you, but anyway, whatever.
Eat up my ribs, huh? Yeah.
I got trust issues.
You know what a Texas Twinkie is, right?
I have no idea. I wouldn't eat a normal Twinkie, let alone,
Take a jalapeno, cut the top of it off, stuff it with cream cheese, and then wrap it in bacon and cook it on the smoker.
So stuffed peppers.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you have something you wanted to add to this conversation, or you just
I just added to the conversation.
dropped in to talk about shit I don't care about?
You know what? You should care about anything that I do talk about because I'm your brother and you supposedly say you love me.
Yeah, supposedly.
Okay, guys, you see the hate that I get?
You don't get hate. You just get me being like, okay, you're on the channel and we're talking about games, so.
Okay, I played my 5e game the other day and it was a lot of fun.
Gay?
Bitch, you ran 5e for over a year and you loved it.
Yeah, until they ruined it.
Yeah, but you don't have to. Yeah, but you don't have to play with all the gay shit.
No. Oh, you heard my voice yelling at my brother.
Brothers always do that.
Monster, he's been mean to me for no reason.
Yeah. She's going to side with me.
I'm calling Mom.
Mom will side with me.
No, she won't. She loves me more.
Maybe, but she'll side with me.
Hungar's a big mama's boy.
Yeah, he's the prodigal son. You know the story? That's him. He's the prodigal son. I was the prodigal son once. I even had a thing about it.
I'm the awesome son.
Like the prodigal son, I have returned. Anyone who steps to me, you get burned. Anyway.
Yeah, but you're not House of Pain, and you're not even in full effect. And people
No,
would
I
step up to
honestly, if I were a rap group, it would probably be Digital Underground.
when people step up to you, they don't even get wrecked.
You're right. Because I'm more like, stop what you're doing, because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you used to.
If I was a rapper, I would be. If I was a rap group, I would be Outcast.
Really?
Yeah, because Andre 2000 a little crazy and Big Boy's a little, not crazy. So they
It's,
even each
it's
other
Andre
out.
3000.
Yeah, it's Andre 3000.
Andre,
Get right.
let's just call him Andre, okay? You frickin' frickers.
My baby don't mess around. And yes, I know for sure because she loves me so.
So
Listen to that a lot.
that song is so horrible.
Yeah, because it's basically like when he talks about how people say nothing lasts forever, then what makes this love the exception?
Liar, liar.
Oh, yeah, well,
Man, I've heard that song so many times because I had
no,
one
you're
CD
not
and that was it.
happy. Yeah. You were what?
That was the only CD I had that song on it.
Dude. Yeah. I had a collection of music, so I was pretty all over the place, really.
I was only happy when my CD player stopped playing CDs, so I had to listen to the radio
But,
mostly.
wasn't right. Yeah, yeah. We're the whitest people you ever met, and yet we spend half the day sitting around rapping. See, the whitest guys you've ever not ever met, they are rappers. They're from Wells. They're called Goldie Looking Chain. And their best song is Guns Don't Kill People, Rappers Do. And that's how it starts too. And the guy who says it, he's one of those guys that's got like the speech impediment where he can't say W or he can't say R. Everything is a W. So he's like, it starts out and he's like, guns don't kill people, wappas do. I saw a documentary on BBC Two, and they're like riding around on freaking golf carts. And it's just like, the Welsh. They're definitely Welsh. Yeah. See, I would have been in full effect if 9-1 wasn't a joke. You call 911 and you think you are first when you really are 10th.
See, if I was a rap group, I would be Goaty Looking Chain.
Yeah, that's the Welsh group.
Or the Streets.
Well, yeah, that's the British group.
Don't mug yourself.
Don't mug yourself. That's all I'm saying. Just don't mug yourself. Yeah.
You must got a penis.
Yeah, that's Goldie Looking Chain. Your mama's got a penis.
Guns
Your
don't.
mama's got a penis.
Wappas do.
Yep, wappas.
That I had to learn to play this game.
CD. I used to be a trucker, and I would. Yeah, so did Hungar Phileas. So he can reminisce about that over the road long distance bullshit because that's what he did.
I was kind of happy my CD player broke because I just used my CD player as a radio.
That is a weird statement to make out of the blue.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy it broke because now it's just a radio. Yeah, that's. I mean, okay. I mean, if you're happy, I'm happy. You know that, bro.
When I was navigating without
Look,
maps.
I had to listen to something when I was on the bus.
You got buses where you live?
Yeah.
Huh.
School buses? When I went to school, yeah.
I thought you meant like public transportation. I was going to say
No.
there is no public transportation where I am at.
No, I was talking about school buses. When I
Public transportation is like paying a drunk uncle to drive you somewhere.
Yeah, no, thanks.
That's about it. I mean, there's no public. Nah.
No, thanks. Yeah, no, there's none of that.
Like, where do you think you are? New York City or something?
No.
Right? Ain't no buses around here.
Nope.
And by the way, how'd you get here? And who even told you this existed? As a matter of fact, if I were you, I'd turn that car around and just get on down back where you came from. That's how Kentucky people greet like strangers in Eastern Kentucky. Yeah. I'm still eventually going to finish up. Hunger got kicked off the internet. I'm
Yeah.
still eventually going to finish up that Call of Cthulhu adventure. And one of these days, when my players aren't paying attention, I may throw it on them. You know? I mean, I've made all the characters for it. So
Represent that BRP, James.
I'm telling you. Because I'm all like thinking, you know, they all live in Arkham. You know, you've got a couple professors and archaeologists and shit like that. And then somebody, one of them at random, I'll roll, is going to receive like an artifact and a note. And it's going to be from like a mysterious person. And it's going to be from near Hellier, Kentucky. And then because they're all scientists and stuff, they're going to get all their group together to go to Hellier to try to figure out what's going on with this this artifact that should not exist in the United States, let alone, you know, the backwoods of Eastern Kentucky. And then horrible things will happen after that. I mean, it'll just get way worse after that. Like disgustingly worse. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about.
It'll be fun.
I've been writing it. It's been pretty easy because, for one thing, like a lot of the hard work, like the whole mapping and stuff, is super easy because you can literally just Google Map areas, you know, and check it out. So that's easy. Like, and like the layout of the town, that's also easy because I found it. And if I need to remove the modern stuff from it, no problem, you know. And oh yeah, there's going to be an ancient cult there that dates back to the 1600 somethings, and they worship a fertility goddess, the goat with 1,000 young. And deep down in the hollers, there's going to be some like hybrid offspring that are half human, half goat that have spawned from their goddess. And you know, cult leaders and lots of like degradation and incest and stuff like that. So I'm basically talking about cranking it up to 11, but setting it in like Hazard County or whatever. Here's a question I wonder if anybody can answer. The song by what's his name? Something Marks about Hazard County. What Hazard County is he talking about? Is he talking about Hazard County, Kentucky, Hazard County, Georgia, some other Hazard County that I'm unaware of? I mean, you know, what's going on there? I've never known, and I've always kind of wanted to know. But it's basically about a woman getting murdered and him getting blamed by a crooked cop. And I'm like, well, I mean, that could happen in Hazard County for sure.
Yep.
You know, I wouldn't put it past them.
I think I found it here. The story behind the song Hazard.
Oh, damn. Yeah. Duh. The internet. It's a thing. Or maybe the girl, you know, removed herself from the freaking situation. I don't know. I mean, could have happened. All right, now that I found a substitute base, which I think is going to look really good when it's done, and I've got a this night I think is going to be somehow a showgirl or something because she's doing like the kick. She like dun 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 dun. I don't know why I posted it that way, but I did. So there it is. So yeah. Looking and not finding what I'm looking for. I need to call my mom tonight. I don't think I've talked to her in like a week. She's probably wondering what's going on. I mean, last time I talked to her, I told her what all was going on with the funeral and everything, but okay. What? What are you laughing about?
Not laughing yet. Little town in Nebraska.
Okay, so there's a Hazard, Nebraska, too, then.
Yeah.
All right. I don't like that. I feel like there should only be a Hazard in Kentucky. Like, I need to go to Nebraska and be like, hey, you guys need to stop. Okay?
People reuse names a lot of times. It's
Enough of your shit.
happen a lot. I mean,
well, I know this, obviously. I'm just saying I don't like it.
There's a London, Kentucky.
Of course there is. It's right off 75. I know exactly where London is. It's also, if you take a bus to Kentucky, where you end up. Because the bus station in East Kentucky is in London. So, I hope you have some people to pick you up because if you live like an hour east of London, you're going to have problems, unless you're like down to take the foot train, or the foot truck, depending on who you hear that saying from. So, oh man. All right, we're getting it together, guys. Eventually, these 4 nights will be done. Actually, 8 nights, which I could split up into multiple units, or I could keep them all together. But then when I activate them, I have to activate them by type. So if you have a unit of 4 knights, but they're 3 different chassis, you have to activate them 3 times. As opposed to just like, if they're all identical though, then you can just activate the whole unit at one time. And it just depends on how you want to do, because this game, unlike the shitty 40K game, actually uses alternating turns and stuff like that, which honestly, any modern war game that doesn't use, alternating turns is just stupid. There's no reason for that. That is a design that never had a purpose. There's no way to justify that. Like, okay, so we got this game, and you're going to spend $1,000 building an army for it, right? But here's the thing: when you go to play the game, you're going to roll a dice 6 for initiative, right? You with me? And if the other guy wins, you're going to stand or sit there for an hour and a half while they play the game. And then when it's your turn, you'll get to do the same thing while they sit there for an hour and a half. It's like, really? That is, that is so stupid. It makes me want to just.
Again, shouldn't it be alternating turns? You move one unit and they move one unit?
Yeah. every time a new edition of 40K ever came out since I started playing, the one thing I always hoped would be in it was alternating turns. Guess what? Never.
Never.
Never. No alternating turns. And it's like, okay, why? Even 30K, no alternating turns in 30K. And it's like, why? I mean, here's the good news. I mean, you can play alternating turns yourself.
Yeah.
It's not hard. You can just be like, okay, we take turns moving one unit. And then when all the units are done, then we start it over, right?
Yep.
So you don't need Games Workshop, or even better, you can just play one-page rules, which uses alternating activation already. And that's why a lot of people who used to be 40K fanatics are now playing one-page rules, Grim Dark Future or whatever, because it's a better game. It's a better game. It's a better game. The design is better. It's actually made for you to have fun. They don't F up your army every, couple months because they want to put out, a new miniature. So now they got to make, your army suck to force you to try to buy the new stuff. Yeah. And also it's miniatures agnostic. So if you already own like a Blood Angels army, you can still play it.
Yep.
It's just not called a Blood Angels army. It's called like Warrior Monks of the Space God or some shit.
Yeah.
But I mean, come on, we all know what it is, right?
My war game, the only war game I played, did alternating turns, and it worked fine.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, though, because last time I played
it. Are you going to tell me the name of it or what?
Star Wars Legion.
Yeah. You don't see it so much anymore. It's like, I don't know. People get bored of it or what?
I
What
guess. Maybe Fantasy Flight Group or whatever they're called messed it up.
Yeah.
Last time I played it, though, this one guy had like this really nice clone army with like Anakin being their lead. I just ran up there with shotguns and shot him down.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, here comes my unit rush, and there goes Anakin. Oh no, my weak shotgun unit just died to some clones. Oh well.
Anakin's dead, so
Yeah.
So it's all good.
It's like I just traded like I traded a 40-point unit for 100-something point unit.
Well, a lot of people who don't play war games, they don't get that. Ultimately, in a way, kind of like chess, not exactly, but kind of, it comes down to sacrifices and trades.
Yep.
And and that's how you lose the game: is you sacrifice a very expensive unit for
A cheaper unit for a more expensive unit.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to do that. So, you try to. Okay.
Yeah, I did get a kind of a lucky roll on that, but even then, I still would have hurt Anakin pretty well. But I just kind of outright took Anakin off the board.
That one nerd that does painting tutorials and f's up 40K lore a lot. He 3D print a Legion army, and it's all Gungans.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a YouTube channel. He's not like a person that I could ever hate, but I would never ever take his word on anything having to do with lore, because he has no effing clue what he's talking about. It's like, get out of here. And when he came out as somebody who would be cool with female space marines, I was like, yep, no respect for you. You are a piece of garbage. Because, I'm the kind of guy that says pudding is delicious. No, I'm the kind of guy that thinks 35 years of lore should be left alone. you know. And the lore is very clear on exactly how and why females cannot be space marines. So the fact that you've got a bunch of basically, as they call them, vacationers that just popped into the hobby, trying to change that.
Yeah, if you want a female army, just do the whole Sisters of Battle.
You can literally play any other army in the game.
Yeah.
If you want a female army. The
Yeah, all
only
female
army,
army.
the only
Sisters
army
of
you
Battle.
can't play is
Marines.
Marines and Golden Boys. And even with the Golden Boys, you still can have women in the army because you got the Sisters of Silence.
Yep.
That always travel about with the Emperor's elite guard, right?
Yep.
So Tyranids, I mean, I don't know. Is the Tyranid queen hive mind a male or female? I don't know.
I mean, maybe it's like a lot like bees, where all
right,
of them are female.
where they got a
except for
queen and
males.
whatever, right?
Doesn't really matter. They're Tyranids. I mean,
right. Orcs literally do not have sex because they're mushrooms.
Yep.
So that's one not to worry about. If you wanted, you could actually get enough bodies and stuff to make an entire female Imperial Guard regiment. As a matter of fact, cat girls are actually canon. Yeah, they're a stable mutation that the Imperium decided not to wipe out. And they're literally just humans that have cat ears instead of human ears for God only knows what reason, because, you know, the warp works in warp ways.
weird ways, man.
Yeah. So there's that. The Eldar, if you buy a box of Eldar, half of the figures in the box are female, you know, just right off the bat.
Again, I think if you really wanted to do a female army, Sisters of Battle.
Sisters of Battle, the only one who's not female in that would be like the preacher.
Yeah.
That you don't even have to add. It's just an option that you could add if you want.
Yep.
A preacher, you know, just to make it more ecclesiastical or whatever.
Besides, I mean, who wouldn't want Saint Celestine just fly around everywhere, kicking ass?
I would. And that's the problem. And when this argument comes up, and it comes up a lot, the big problem is like, what are you even fighting about? Because it's like, if a female could absorb the gene seed to become a space marine by the time it got done with all the mutations and shit like that, you wouldn't be able to tell it from a male. And male space marines, except for one specific legion, their junk don't work, and they're sterile. They cannot have children. And it was part of the design. The Emperor literally made space marines sterile on purpose, because the plan was, after the galaxy was conquered, he was going to exterminate them. Why? Because the Emperor was liberating the galaxy for humanity, and the Emperor does not consider space marines to be humans. They're post-human mutants that he created. So, yeah, they were going to go the way of the dodo. Now, the Golden Boys probably would have stayed because, you know, the Emperor and his Golden Boys, that's going to be a thing, right? But, yeah, they were all... The only chapter who supposedly might have functioning genitalia is the one chapter you don't want to have functioning genitalia, and that's the Emperor's Children. The Chaos guys that follow Slaanesh. Yeah, you don't want them to have functioning genitalia because they're going to use it in all the worst ways. You know, they're basically Reavers before Firefly came out. It's like their entire legion split up into little like war bands and they behave like reavers. They're crazier than shit. They're always jamming like crazy music at full blast, and they will grape you, murder you, eat you, and maybe make clothes out of your skin. And the order of which this happens, who knows? Depends on their mood that day. So, yeah, those are the worst. Absolutely the worst guys right there. And for some reason, that's the army I often make. When I build a Chaos army, I almost always build Emperor's Children. I think it's because I like purple, though. Or maybe I like to be an edgy boy and play the edgy boy army. I don't know. Right? But egalitarian mind virus, yeah. They want everything to be equal, but nothing will ever be equal. It's like me and my wife were talking about this the other day because we watched a video where it was like all these women challenging men to like martial arts competitions. And we're both like, that is not a good idea, you know? And of course, every competition ended in tears, believe me.
Oh, yeah. I remember this one YouTube video saying it was like the 3 strong women versus like 3 average guys. It's like these women like, yeah, we're going to destroy these guys and it's going to be crazy. Dudes were like, I'm just here for pizza.
Right.
And then it's like the opposite happens. Like the women get just utterly beaten easily by the guys.
Well, you know, the female championship power lifter one time for like a thing went into a random bar in a town and started challenging random dudes to arm wrestler, and she lost 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
To random dudes that just happened to be hanging out in a bar. And it's just like, well, no shit.
Well, what did you expect?
What do you think was going to happen here, you know? And that's what happened with the martial arts thing. Like, the worst one, they were like 2 Japanese people. And I don't know what martial art it was, but at some point, the girl went to throw a thing. And the guy like blocked her leg and then just straight kicked her right in her ovaries.
Oof.
Like, but from the front, not from between. But I mean, that hit happened and you just heard the hoof. And that chick crumpled to the ground and started crying. And I was just like, damn.
That's just like, yeah. Just like,
now, to be fair, if that dude kicked me like that, I'd probably crumble to the ground and cry too, you know? I mean, that was I studied American Kempo, and I can tell you, that was a hell of a kick, you know? That dude he did just a straight side kick, and he brought the pain. It was just terrible. And then the other one we were watching was this big fat dude in the octagon with 3 women. And he beat the shit out of all 3 of them. You know, it was 3 versus 1, and he just beat the shit out of them. And I'm just sitting there like, why? Why is this happening? You know, it's like, who lied to these 110-pound hotties and told them, yeah, get in the ring with that 300-pound dude. I'm sure he'll be fine. See, I want to know who did that, because somebody needs to smack that guy in the freaking head, right? Because it is a man's job to protect the females, right?
Yeah.
And sending them into the cage with the monster, that's not protecting them very well. That's just not good. That's just bad. That's all bad. Everything about that is bad.
It's also nice and more funny when you just do something where the women aren't going to get hurt. Like, make women play tennis with like an old master.
I saw that shit. That woman was talking shit. Who says that women can't reserve a man's serve? And the dude serves the ball, and it bounces up off of her side of the court and hits her right in the face, and she falls over and starts crying. It's like,
I was thinking about a different one, I think, because this was like an old tennis master who's like, women can't compete with men, and he is like already retired.
Well, that was what's his name, Mac something that everybody used to hate. He was like the greatest tennis player for a long time, McEnroe. And during an interview on the news, they were talking about Serena, and McEnroe said, "Yeah, she's the greatest female tennis player, of all time right now." And of course, the woman reporter's like, "Why do you have to add female?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "You said she's the greatest female player. She's the greatest tennis player." And this dude said, "If she were playing in the men's league, she wouldn't be in the top 300."
Yeah.
And they got all pissed off. So later on, Serena was doing an interview and they asked her about that. And she said, "Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's 100% right." And they're like, "What?" And she's like, "Look, men serve faster and harder, they are quicker." He's like, "Yeah, I'm a great tennis player, but against like a rated, top 10 male tennis player, she'd get melted. She knows it." And it's like, yeah, I mean, there's no shame in this. It is what it is.
Yep.
SOCKS. I don't understand why people want to make a big deal out of it. It's like, I mean, Serena's done a great job with herself.
Yeah.
She's left a legacy. Her sister Venus, too.
Yeah.
But another thing that happened to Serena is she was playing against like this retired Australian tennis player. This dude was like rank something and 48, like 248 or some shit, right? He had retired like 10 years prior. He shows up to play her the tennis match, and he's pretty much drunk as shit. And he shows up late because he was out playing golf at the links, right? Doing his thing. And then he swept her in straight matches and just left.
Yeah.
And she was just like, "Well, there you go."
The one time I heard about it was like this. It was another retired one. I don't know if it was this Australian guy, but he basically just like playing casually while the female player was like actually trying to win, and he won handily.
Because, I mean,
It's like,
Phileas is 100% right. This weird, like, okay, it's like if someone walks up to me and says, "Do you believe men and women are equal?" And I will say, under the law, absolutely. But if you're asking me to say that a 110-pound chick is going to be as strong as I am and beat my ass, I'm going to be like, "Nah, it's never happening." And I'm old and broken, but there's no way a 100-pound woman whips my ass. It's just not even possible. And I just don't understand why people want to make that an issue. It's just like, look, man, we all have stuff we're great at and stuff we're okay at and stuff that we have no business being around, right? And fist fighting is one of those things that women have no business getting involved in, because I mean it's stupid. It's just stupid. And it's not egalitarian. It's how like back when the coof was around and you had those assholes calling everybody anti-science. What
yeah,
could be more anti-science than trying to convince people that a 110-pound woman can beat a guy 3 times her height or her weight? It's like, that is insane.
I know.
Trying to convince some young woman that she can beat up a dude. Just don't worry about it. Go out there, girlfriend. And it's like, are you trying to get this woman killed? Do you not understand that when she runs up to some guy in a bar and slaps the shit out of him talking shit, he might just punch her right in her temple, and that'll be the end of that bitch. We're talking brain damage. Maybe a broken orbital on that
Sounds
side
like
of
I
the
might
head.
need to go. I'll see ya.
You got to go? Okay. I'll talk to you later, man. So I hate the whole idea of it. And I don't even think it's like, it's not even braggable. If you're like a full grown man and like, I mean, I understand sometimes when you got these women that get out of pocket and they talk a bunch of shit and they get equal lefts with their equal rights. I get it, but it's not something that I think should ever happen. And that is why my daughter, I taught her how to use a gun. Not because I wanted to go out and gank anybody, but because if some grown ass man decides to try to be violent, you got the equalizer right there. You know what I mean? And that's what's important, you know. I am also of the opinion, which I know a lot of people disagree with, that women, every woman, wherever she is, should be armed. I know my grandma, every time she left her house, she had a snub nose 38 in her purse. So, I mean, there was no effing around there, you know. You didn't want to mess with that old lady because she would light you up, right? And as a result, no one ever messed with my grandma. I mean, are you crazy? Some old hillbilly from Kentucky with a 38 in her purse? You gonna mess with that? No. And she's already 70, so it's not like she's worried about prison or anything. You know, that was the same thing with my grandpa, who did do a lot of time in prison. But then after he got out of prison, no one wanted to F with him because he's already old and he'd already been to prison when he was young. So, like, to him, life in prison was not a threat because, you know, he's 70 years old. It's like, all right, I don't really intend to live too much longer than this. So, yeah, go ahead and throw me in prison. Let's see how that works out. You know, it's like these people, man. And yes, I've told the stories multiple times. I come from a family of outlaws, but they are not Indian outlaws. And I am not part Cherokee or Chippewa or Choctaw. Even though it'd be cool if I were, but the fact of the matter is I am not. I have zero American Indian blood. Zero. None. All of my blood is from the Baltic region. Every bit of it. Which is really weird because my whole life I thought I was Irish. You guys know that. I mean, I got an Irish name and everything, so. But DNA test says, nah, you're not even really Irish. You're Danish, Norwegian, a touch of Swedish, Polish, you know, got to throw some Slav in there. You know, but mostly, primarily German. Primarily, yeah, German is like the biggest part. So, I don't even know how that in the hell happened. Of course, maybe I should get my DNA test done by another company and like compare them, you know, because I'm not so sure. But so my first 4-man unit is done, and here's the one with the alternate base, and he's kind of in the pose that he's walking. He's got his mega bolter and his big ass power sword. Do I feel an affinity for my Germanness? Well, I've always liked German food, except we don't call it schnitzel. We call it country fried steak. I did spend some time in Germany when I was in the army, and I loved it. Frankfurt, I thought was amazing. But when my DNA test says German, it doesn't mean the current nation of Germany. I mean, to be absolutely correct, it says Germanic. I am Germanic. That could be God only knows. But I'm Germanic. So, yeah. So, I mean, because a lot of people forget that for the longest time, I mean, even after Germany stopped being the not so holy Roman Empire, it was like split into like 100 kingdoms or something, you know? And, you know, are Prussians Germans or are they Slavs? I don't know. I think they're Germans, but a lot of them have like Slavic sounding names. And then we all know that for the longest time, all the Poles that lived in Western Poland were actually Germans. And so, I mean, that shit gets complicated, man. The only ethnicity that I think I show an affinity for now that I'm older is probably the Slavic part. And that probably has everything to do with my dad, who you've already all heard his grandma, his grandma fled Russia in 1916 or something, come to America. And they went from Similovich to Simons. Whereas on my maternal side of the family, I've had family in the United States since like 1680. And we've been able to trace it back where they landed, which was Williamsburg, Virginia territory, or the Virginia Crown Colony. And then they moved out to Western Virginia, which would one day become Eastern Kentucky. And I don't know if I should be proud of this or not, but they never left. It's like when I'm looking up my family tree on the Leaf pro that program, the Leaf thing. It's like so and so 1703 was born in Pulaski County, died in Pulaski County, and it's just that's her whole family line. It's like they came from wherever the hell they came from. Alsace, Germany, back when it was not France's Germany or whatever. And they moved to the mountains of Eastern Kentucky and they just freaking stayed there. I mean, okay, cool. I mean, I could dig why you would. I mean, even in the modern day, like nobody messes with you up there. The culture up there is kind of a high trust culture, but it's more of a high threat culture, if you understand what I mean. The reason it's high trust is because if you F around, you will find out. To use a now popularized term that I've been using since forever. And that's kind of how it is where I live in Kentucky, right? So it's, the people, you might have some scumbag meth heads that want to rip all the copper out of your house if they ever could. But it won't happen if you're home because they know you'll shoot them. So, it causes people to be away. And also because you're so far out in the wilderness and you can't rely on anyone, up there, family is like everything, It's like if you need help with something, somebody's messing with you, somebody stole something from you, anything, right? You can always call your family up and get the vendetta going. And I'm not even kidding, because if there's one thing those guys up there love, it's their freaking vendettas, their feuds. They're huge fans of feuding with each other. Which, again, I'm all like, okay, whatever. I mean, because my family has such a nasty reputation, when I go up there, I get treated really well. But it's because people who aren't related to me and don't know me well, they're afraid that I'm like my other relatives and messing with me could end with somebody dying. So, my forerunners left me in a pretty good spot. No one really wants to catch that heat. You know what I mean? Even though I've never really done anything bad, like anytime I've ever fired a weapon at any human being, it was because I was paid to do so by the government. So, and I spent years making up for that. So there you go. But I have seen movies or videos of like really, really, really like way out in the middle of nowhere Australian towns. And I totally get it. You know what I mean? It's like it's like, every one of these people, if they lived on the mountain where I have my property and stuff, they'd fit right in. Nobody'd even question it. Maybe somebody'd be like, well, that guy's got a weird accent. But I mean, like when you see those towns in Australia, they're way out and there's maybe 100 people in the whole town. That's kind of the same culture, Plus, I mean, even though I know some Australians like to stir up crap for whatever reason, most Americans absolutely love Australians. That's just a fact. Just, I always find it weird when Australians want to talk shit about America because no one in America talks shit about Australia. Like, unless somebody did something political and people were like wanting to be all like away about it. But yeah, Trump did tell your one guy that he didn't like him and never would. Okay, fine. But I mean, that's not the Australian people. Us Americans, we love ourselves some Australians. We sure do. Don't know why. Like, in some regards, I know for a fact that some Americans consider ourselves to be closer related to Australians than we do Canadians, and we share a damn border with Canada. And I don't know if it's because of your accent or whatever it is. Yeah, see, more progressive, I wouldn't say that's a great thing. And also the lack of mass shootings. I mean, yeah, that's true. You don't have mass shootings. You also can't own guns. So you basically handed your entire freedom over to your government, which to an American's mindset is really weird because the last group of people that any American would ever want to be in charge of anything is the government. Like we would rather take directions from a freaking neighborhood watch person than someone from the government, man. We literally do not like our government. Even when the person you want to win to be president wins, we still don't like our government. Yeah, my wife was watching a show where it was like the farmer needs a wife or something. And it was in Australia. And it was like these dudes that live way out and they're cattle farmers or whatever the hell they do, and sheep farmers or whatever. And like they were importing these women out there to like date him and see, and he would, if the man and the woman agreed, then they would date some more and possibly get married. And I noticed two things about that show. One, a lot of Australian men are very handsome, and two, a lot of Australian women are very, very attractive. But then again, it's TV, so they might have just been showing off their best, But yeah. But other than the one female friend I had that lived in Australia that decided to move all the way across the continent, I really don't. I think you might be one of the few Australians that even talks on this channel at all. There might be one other guy, James L. I believe he's Australian. But see, the Canadians do the same thing, except instead of we don't have shootings, we have free medical care, and we're more progressive. Except they don't have free medical care. They pay 50% income tax. And if they need a medical thing done, it's going to take 2 months to do it. So, I mean, it's literally like just where are your priorities? Do you want to pay money and get that shit right now and well done? Or do you want to wait a month and get it for free, but it's not really free because you're being taxed into the ground? And to this day in America, you have Americans that talk shit too. We're the only modern industrialized country that doesn't have nationalized medicine. It's like those idiots don't understand. Big trucks, hell yeah. Wide roads, beer, sports, lamb chops on a screaming hot Barbie. I know like 20 years ago, there was a commercial where like one of the Australian politicians did a commercial for Australia Day. And it was hilarious because he was like, here in Australia, we eat lamb fresh off the Barbie, so hot that it burns our fingers, but that's okay because then we throw our fingers into a cooler full of ice cold beer. And like he was like going off, right? And like at the end of the commercial, it was basically like, if you don't like Australia, get the F out. You know what I mean? And shit. This is a long time ago. But Americans loved that commercial because that dude was just like, I mean, he is very American. You know what I mean? He's like, this is Australia. This is how we do shit. And if you don't like it, leave. And I respect that, man. Because I'll tell you what, America has 12, at least 7 and maybe 12 distinct cultures. And the Australians that we tend to like, they tend to be the ones that are most closely related to Southerners. So they're the guys, like you said, that they like their trucks, they like hunting, they like fishing, they like their barbecue. They like to have a beer with the mates, as you would say, now and again, whatever. City Australians, I can see, but city Americans are the same way. I don't know what it is that causes a huge portion of urban dwellers to become douchebags. And of course, I'm not saying all of them, but I've been to New York, I've been to Queens and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, you run into decent people, but there's just some weird vibe throughout the whole thing to where, they're douchebags. Yes, that's a big part of it. But that's also, see, and this is the thing with like unrestrained illegal immigration is you've got the American medical system, which is all about the money. I know it. It is. You need good insurance and you need money. But then you look at like the UK's health system, and it's supposed to be free, and it's collapsing. So you've got two entirely different outlooks. Did I splash myself with ginger ale? You've got two entirely different outlooks on how the healthcare system should work. And the one commonality is illegal immigrants are destroying both healthcare systems. And that's why, the current admin is trying to deport as many people as possible because, now I can tell you this, as a retired firefighter, illegals and people like that, they use the ER as their primary health care, right? And they don't seem to understand that one, the ER is going to be the most expensive option every time. And two, the doctor in the ER is not going to fix your actual issues. Their job as emergency medical professionals is to stabilize you and then give you a piece of paper saying you need to go see a orthopedic surgeon, whatever, right? If you don't follow up with the actual doctor at a practice, then whatever your issue is, isn't fixed and never will be. And therefore you become what we call in the fire department, because we transported to the hospital. Every fire department here doesn't, but my department did, is frequent flyers. And that's a patient who may or may not be illegal. I never looked at anybody's wallet or anything to figure it out. I just did my best to stabilize them and get them to the ER, right? And some of these people, you would run on them like twice a week, 5 times a month. And it was always the same thing. You know, they'd always be like, I'm having difficulty breathing. And you're like, yeah, because when you go to the ER, they're going to give you some Lasix or whatever it is to get rid of fluid in your body. They're going to do some stuff to make you feel better. And they might even give you some pills to take home. And guess what? They're not going to cure you, though. They're not going to give you a nebulizer and all the medications you need to keep your shit together, right? Private and public, that might be the best mix right there, but yeah. See, here in America, and I don't know how old you are. I mean, I'm 54. But for some reason, the most educated people in the United States, the younger people, are also the stupidest because they believe that you can have a medical system that is free. And they believe that having a house is a human right and stuff like this. And it's like, all right, you got your master's degree from a good university, respect, but how can anything be free? And they're like, well, I mean, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, but then it's not free. You're just making other people pay your bill. Oh, so you're a young man. You're a young man. So that's not free. If you're forcing all your neighbors to pay your bills with their taxes, that's not free. Someone's paying, right? The only other option would be maybe to gather up all the doctors and like chain them to the ERs and stuff and make them work for free. And maybe every now and then run in and throw a chili dog at them. But I have a feeling that if you did that, people would stop being doctors. They wouldn't want to do it anymore. I have a feeling that the reason they take that high stress job that's going to put most of them in the ground with a heart attack is because they like the money, right? So that's not really an option. And then on and so forth. It just goes on and so forth. It's such a weird debate, you know? And I've had it with some of my younger, highly educated relatives. And it's just like, I forget which book it was that said Tan Staffel, you know, no such thing as a free lunch. But it's like, obviously these kids, professors never had them read that, you know, that everything you do in the whole world costs somebody something. And if you're a good person, it's you it costs. And if you're a shitty person, it's someone else that costs. But everything costs somebody something. I mean, nothing is free, literally. I mean, not even the air we breathe, you know? It's like, but these kids, man, they somehow get it in their head. And like sometimes I have one of them join my channel and start talking mad shit and calling me a fascist and stuff. And I just pray for them and say, dude, you're probably young and hopefully you'll grow up and you'll realize that shit is a lot more nuanced and not quite as black and white as you think it is. And that, like one thing I have given a little bit of sermon about money, trying to explain to my relatives that money isn't real. It represents a thing. And they're like, well, what does it represent? And I'm like, well, if you boil it down to the most succinct terms, money represents your life. And they're like, how do you mean? Because you go and you do a job for X amount of hours of your life, which is finite, and then someone gives you money. So depending on the job you do, you make more or less. But in the end, you are trading chunks of your life for money. So if somebody takes money from you or your property, they're not just taking, you know, a freaking night. They're taking the part of my life that I had to give up to get the money to get the night. And therefore, that's why I think taxation is theft. Because it's not a matter of the government can just print all the money they want. It doesn't work that way. It's like, but I'll tell you what, all these young kids with all their brilliant degrees, not one of them has a degree in economics. They all have degrees in like stupid shit. So it's like, how are you going to talk about, advanced economic systems? You don't know anything about it. And they'll be like, well, I've got, this degree or that degree. And it's like, but that has nothing to do with advanced economic systems. So literally the fact that I've read Thomas Sowell and Mises and like that, Friedman, I actually am higher educated when it comes to economics than you are, because you never took a class on it. You've never read anything about it. You don't know anything about it. But you think because you've got a degree, you know everything about everything. Now, here's where I contradict myself. That don't make me mad at them, because when I was young, I thought I knew everything too. So, I'm not wanting to hate on them. I was just as bad. When I was 15, 16, 17, I was straight up pro-tanky communism. And then I, grew up and got a job and had to pay taxes and a mortgage and shit like that. And also educated myself on economics by reading the aforementioned guys as well as many others. And my entire opinion changed because I realized, yeah, this is bullshit. You know what I mean? Plus, my pop's side of the family hated communists. Man, they hated communists. But again, they had to, flee their homeland or be murdered for being kulaks too. So I'll cut them a break on their hatred of the commies. They had a good reason. You know what? I not that it's a competition, but anyway, you piss away money stupidly in Australia, I guarantee you the United States has got you beat 10 ways to Sunday. Like we pay for, well, not anymore, but we were paying Somalia to exist. We were paying Brazil to print pro-lesbian comics or some shit. We were sending millions of dollars to Serbia to try to teach Serbians how to be more egalitarian in the workplace. We sent a ton of money to Afghanistan so that they could have a gender studies program over there. And it's like, but now we know that all of that shit was just money laundering anyway, because it goes into the fund that's supposed to help the people wherever they are. But then, the vast majority of it never makes it to anybody. It all ends up in slush funds and politicians, 401ks or whatever, or bribing people or doing whatever the hell they're doing, It's like, see, and now we know. The real question for the United States is, now that we know, are we going to do anything about it, really? Or is it going to be business as usual? Because I'll tell you what, unlike a lot of countries where people will riot at the drop of the hat, most Americans won't riot, because as long as we got our Salisbury steak and our beer and stuff like that, and we can watch the sports ball, most Americans are perfectly content. The majority of Americans, like the people riding in Portland and places like that, they're not representative of Americans in the slightest. Not at all. I'm more of a representative of a guy my age, like I mind my business. I make sure my lawn is mowed. I say hi to the neighbors. I try not to bother anybody, and I don't like being bothered too much. I hang out with friends once a week and play board games or something. So, yeah, it's like, and that I think is most Americans. But we do have the professional whining class, and that is the group of people, whether they're pretending to be Antifa or whatever they're pretending to be, who are actually being paid to get out there and be agitators. Like, we know for a fact that these guys are all being paid, again, by slush money, from Act Blue and various other orgs. So yeah, I think about it a lot, and I don't know if it's because of my religious opinions. I think it must be, but I think about it, and I start thinking that maybe monarchy was the best way, And then my wife says, "No, you're crazy," and I'm like, "Okay, whatever. All right, maybe." Of course, then I switched that argument up, and I started with the whole monarchy is inevitable, and people would be like, "What do you mean?" And the joke is because if you believe in the Bible, at some point Jesus will come back and reign as the king of the whole earth, right? Therefore, if you're religious, not making any judgments whether you are or not, but for a truly religious person, you know that monarchy is inevitable. Just because that's what we're told in scripture, right? And it's fun to catch people up on that. Not that my wife is not a fan of it, though. She's not a fan. Like one time I asked her when the Roman Empire fell, and she said, I think the 7th century or some shit. I said, actually, it's 1450 something. Man, she got so pissed off because she doesn't consider Eastern Rome, Constantinople and Byzantium and all that, to be part of the Roman Empire, even though it absolutely 100% was part of the Roman Empire. But no one ever told her that. Her education is that Rome is Rome, Italy, that area. And the idea that, the empire was split in half to make it easier to administrate and all that. The Count of Florida, yeah. I mean, really, other than the fact that after however many years we can vote our representatives out, is there really any difference between a count and this guy and the guy after him? See, the problem with democracies is they spend so much time and money trying to get the job that most of the time they get nothing positive done. Right? Whereas if we had a count, depending on the count, if he's a dick, then that would suck, But hey, maybe you could have a system where you go to the king and you're like, hey, this count is abusing shit, handle it before there's a problem, right? But what if you have a good count and then he rules the state of Florida for, I don't know, 65 years and he spends every minute of that 65 years as the count of your kingdom trying to make your kingdom better, right? Because he's a good ruler. You will not get a good ruler with a democracy. See? And this is my theory, and I could be totally wrong, but the reason is it's a lot harder to bribe a king or a count than it is a senator or a governor. Senators and governors can be bribed for anything. But if you've got a principled noble, they can't be bribed for anything. And also, again, they're not spending money every 2 to 4 years trying to trick people into voting for them based on some bullshit or other, And the people would be a lot more unified under a monarchy because there's no vote. So that means from the minute you are born to the minute you die, there's not like team D versus team R. There's just, the government, the guy who rules and makes laws, and you and all of your bros are on the same side. So you ain't got to worry about whether the D's are going to win or the R's are going to win. And you ain't got to worry about, okay, we've got a good government now, but what happens in 4 to 8 years, You ain't got to worry about that shit. A monarchy defender. Um, it's very common amongst ortho Christians, really. Like, I'm not unique at all. For some reason, amongst Orthodox Christians, monarchy is just like in our blood. Right. Because that's their whole thing. It's like, okay, the Australian guy that's constantly talking shit about the environment and shit like that. He don't actually give a fuck about the environment, but he's got a virtue signal to convince other virtue signaling people to elect him so that he can keep making shit tons of money because that's what he cares about. And you can say just about the same thing for every American or Canadian or whatever politician where we claim to have freedom in the world. I wouldn't say Europe because, I mean, I don't even know if they claim to have freedom over there anymore. He's absolutely a totalitarian oligarch, 100%. I've had talks with people about this, like just bullshitting around. You know how you do with your bros when you're watching the hockey match or whatever. And it's like, why haven't they just made him czar and just said, okay, the Federation of Russia doesn't exist anymore. We're back. Imperial Russia, baby. And here's our czar. You know, I mean, why not? Would it change anything? No, nothing would change. That country would work exactly the same way. They'd still be selling fuel to everybody. They'd still be running amok in Ukraine. I mean, nothing would change. Except that eventually Putin's going to die, and then probably Medvedev or whoever will take over, and it'll be the same thing. You know, I mean, I know that, and believe me, my people are from Russia, so I'm very sympathetic to the whole Slavic Russian thing, right? But let's be honest. The only time Russia was a great power was during the imperial time. As a federation, it's like, you know, they got nukes, but if they didn't have nukes, no one would give a shit what they say about anything, you know? But the fact that they got a shit ton of nukes, now you got to pay attention, you know? Because you don't want some country just going off and, you know, ganking half the freaking world. Yeah, and China's weird too. Have you ever noticed, Phileas, that all of the countries that claim to be communist have a free market economic system? Very strange, don't you think? I mean, because the Chinese are not running a an actual communist collectivist system at all. You cannot claim to be communist when your country is creating billionaires. You know. Now the negative is if you get on the wrong side of the party. But how is that any different than China when it was being ruled by the emperor? It isn't. It isn't. And it's like, you know that saying? It's like, you know, nothing new under the sun. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Yeah, I mean, come on. Every male, you know that thing they did a while back when they're talking about how often do you think about Rome? And people were like amazed at how often your average guy thinks about Rome. And Rome, I mean, early Rome was pretty rough, man. They were I wouldn't call them good guys, right? I mean, compared to everybody else they were, but they were still pretty rough, you know? Uh, and then of course Byzantium. We of course all of us love the Eastern Roman Empire with Constantinople, and you know, it's just you're right. It's a thing with dudes. Dudes like the idea of empires. And then in our role playing games, half the time, even if it's a sci-fi game, what are you dealing with? An empire, you know, like Traveler and Imperium, you know, where your count votes. And it's just, it is something in the male, just how we're made. For whatever reason, there's something in the Western and Eastern man brain that's like, rah, you know. Yeah, of course you love your cataphracts and all that, right? Emperor Basil II, you know, Flavius, Belisarius, the Justinian reconquests. I mean, good times, man. I mean, probably not if you're a soldier because, you know, a lot of people died, you know, in all those wars they were fighting. And they were basically constantly at war forever. You know, there has been 0 years since we've even known of history of humanity. There have been 0 years where there wasn't a war going on somewhere on this planet. 0 years. We are a warlike bunch of hairless apes. And I mean, you know, it'd be nice if we could do better, but I don't have a lot of highfalutin hopes that we will. You know what I mean? It's like, will we do better? I mean, you know, we try, I guess. Any hoozle though, I'm gonna go aggravate my wife because I'm hungry. Uh, Multiple layers because they were sent out to different frontiers in the empire. I did not know that. I didn't know that, but from what I understand, the Eastern Roman Empire stole the idea of cataphracts from like the Persian Empire. They may have had them first. The idea of a slow, tightly packed, super heavily armored cavalry unit. And then it just starts spreading around and, you know, but I mean, that's how it goes, right? That's just how it goes. I mean, even the Mongolians, who every time you say Mongolian, people think light horsemen on an unarmored horse with a recurve bow, right? But like the Khan's elite soldiers, which would be thousands of them, these dudes were armored like freaking with 8 layers of mail and, you know, carrying big spears and swords and everything all over them. And their horses were armored right down to the ground, you know? And it's like, yeah. But Phileas, it has been a true pleasure. I think thank you for hanging out and everyone else who's popped in and out and whatever. But yeah, I'm gonna go talk to the wife about something. Maybe I'll look in the fridge. Maybe we got something there. I know we're supposed to order Chinese food later because we got something going on, but I don't know when. So the wife is going to order me some Chinese, and maybe we're going to watch the last season of The Boys or something. But I will hold this up just so you guys can all kind of see it. There we go. That is 8 Legions Imperialis Knights. 4 of them are equipped with that weird chainsaw thing and a inferno gun, which is, I guess, a flamethrower, a giant flamethrower. And then the other 4 have the rapid fire mega bolter and a power sword. These are not questing knights. They're Antropus knights or something like that. I mean, they're Cerastus. Yeah. So I've got 4 of the Cerastus. These are like your more elite formation for a knight army for Legions Imperialis. Not counting, of course, the actual Titans. Right now, I've been painting this Warhound Titan to back them up. But then you've got the smaller ones. These are your Questoris Knights. And this guy is done up with a rapid fire battle cannon and a knight sized chain fist. And he's got a heavy stubber mounted into the carapace. But these guys they're on smaller bases and whatever. They're basically your rank and file troop for the Knight Army. And because knights are so expensive points wise in the game, you can, for I would say relatively inexpensively, based on Games Workshop prices, it's pretty easy to put together a knight army for Legions Imperialis. You know, because I mean, it's still going to cost a lot of money, and probably even more if you're Canadian or Australian. But you're going to have, instead of like this massive bunch of infantry all over the place and stuff, literally you're going to have a few banners of knights and maybe a titan, and that'll be it. So instead of having to paint 100 figures like I need to for the Imperial Guard army I'm building, I'm going to end up painting, I don't know, like 20. So anyway, peace and love, guys. Nice chatting with you all. Have a great time. Good night. Phillies, sleep well. And I'll catch you guys later.